Tu bois sans dire à tout.
What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle That Jerks podcast. It's our weekly live stream where we talk about news or entertainment, really just whatever's on our minds during the week. With me, as ever, is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, man? Good
Hey,
to see you. It's been a while.
Right? It's been at least a week since we took Thanksgiving week off.
Yeah, I was talking to a blank screen last week, talking about some more degenerate gambling films.
Yeah, Rob's life is really sad.
Money by myself.
But we're back this week. After a much, after a much deserved break, but we're back at it. I was not so much breaking as I was just I was working primarily. I was helping out a friend at the LA Auto Show, and if you notice that there's a little bit more bass in my voice, it's because I got laryngitis from the experience. Because what was it?
I just thought your balls dropped.
I know, finally, right? But yeah, I got laryngitis from all the talking I had to do, interacting with people at my friend's booth. And so, luckily, it wasn't that bad, or it didn't last too long, I should say, because it did hurt like hell. Because it was like slow creeping, like a little itch here and then a little scratchy there, and then and then full on like it's like piercing like pain every time like I try to swallow something. Interestingly, it was like only when I was like when I would statically like swallow, not when I was like eating or anything.
Yeah, I hate that feeling. It's the worst.
Yeah, and it's the worst pain.
When I start to feel that, I know I'm getting sick.
Yeah. And I thought that might be happening to me too. So, I was very cautious. I was, I was, keeping track of, of any sign of fever or anything. But I never had any fever, and it was only kind of isolated to my throat. A little coughing here and there, yeah, but it was in fits. It wasn't like my lungs were like being. It wasn't like an upper respiratory thing that that I usually get when I get sick with a cold or anything. But yeah, and I just and then I took a home COVID test just to rule that out.
Yeah.
And luckily it wasn't that. So yeah, it was just laryngitis. It was just my voice was very overworked. And a lot of you might be saying like you do a podcast. How is it that you can get laryngitis? But it's a little bit different because at the LA Auto Show, there's a lot more things going around, a lot of other noises that you have to contend with, and when you talk to someone, you have to get you have to rise above that din, and so I'm not using just my regular speaking voice as I'm doing now here when we do the live stream or on the podcast, but I have to like shout and be like, this thing is great. You need this thing. Buy this thing.
Yeah, you don't realize how loud you have to talk at events like that. Because
precisely.
Yeah, you're in because after you're done, after you like end up leaving, it's like, man, like your ears are ringing a little bit just because it's just, there's a lot more than people realize. Just like that little all those people in like one space, it's a lot louder than you realize.
Oh yeah. And plus, like even just like other booths like playing music or what is it? Other music being played throughout the event, and there's a lot of extra noise to contend with. So,
did you get a chance to check out anything other than like where you were at in the outer? Did you get a chance to kind of go around?
I didn't really get to check out. I really didn't get to check out the other vendors so much. 'Cause that's where I was. I was in like I was in
You're in,
the I was in the
I can't believe,
bottom. I was in the bottom. I guess hall. I believe it's called Kentia
yeah,
Hall, just
yeah.
underneath the main floor. Um, and I really didn't get a chance to check out the other vendors. But I did one of the days I was able to steal away and check out the main hall, and that's where like they're showcasing all like the EVs and stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I mean that was pretty cool, I guess. Although yeah, I did see that they had that radio controlled racing track, but they had like the controllers like up in the hall, and then like in the main foyer when you enter the convention center, they had like this enclosed track with like these radio controlled cars, and apparently they were being controlled by a different set of controllers inside the main hall.
Oh, I see. I didn't see that. That's yeah. That's one of the things I didn't see. We did the whatchamacallit, the that like Jeep experience thing that they had there,
Mm.
where they're showcasing like what the Jeep like off road terrain.
Mm.
Let me tell you, yeah, they make an amazing product because there's like this giant hill that they had like constructed,
Mm.
and they showcase like how you go up over that hill. Oh, you're climbing, you're climbing, you're climbing, and then you kind of get to the ridge, and then you go down, and it looks like you're staring. It feels like you're at a 90-degree angle, like you're just down, going down,
Right.
and but it's still a steep decline, and
Mm.
those brakes and those tires held, and you're just like, this is amazing. Like what? Because that's most cars can't do that,
Right.
but they can. I was like, Jesus Christ, they built this thing like,
I know their Jeep is like kind of in a rebuilding phase because I think their brand has taken a hit in the past few years.
my so my family has been a General Motors family for decades. I mean, it's
Mm.
been as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
However, last year, I don't know what it was, but both my mom and my dad, something just kind of sparked in them when they went to visit the Jeep exhibit last year, and they're like, they something about what they saw there really sparked their interest.
Mm-hmm.
They bought a Jeep last year. This is
Mm.
the first non-General Motor product that my parents have bought since the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the last thing that they owned that was not a General Motors car was a Volkswagen Beetle. And that was, yeah, and they owned that like in the 80s and early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like that's insane. Like I like when they told me that they bought a Jeep, I was like, wait, what? And on top of that, I knew this was going to happen. They ended up selling their Cadillac. I was like, and they didn't even give me one last ride in the damn car. I'm like, I love that car.
What year was the Cadillac?
It was a 2005 Cadillac XLR. It was
Mm-hmm.
their kind of sports luxury car. It was built on the
Oh,
same chassis as the
it's
Corvette.
it wasn't the Roadster, right?
It, um, I don't know if it was like a Roadster, but it was
Hold on, let me look it up real fast because I
it's a bitchin' car. When we have my dad on next, I'll have him talk to you about it. Because how much
okay, yeah. Okay. Oh
it was.
man.
It's the same chassis as the Corvette
Right.
of that era.
Right. They don't make those anymore, right?
No,
No. Yeah. Yeah, that's a sweet looking car, dude.
it was a bitchin' car. I was just the fact that they didn't tell me that
Mm-hmm.
they because it's like that. Hey, we're gonna sell the Cadillac. To get this, you want to go on one last ride? Yes, please. But no.
It's like yes, of course.
But it's okay. Their Jeep, they got the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah,
so like a proper Jeep, not just like a Jeep SUV or.
no, because they were actually looking at the Grand Cherokee, and then they ended up getting the Rubicon,
Hmm.
the
Yeah, the
Rubicon.
four door Jeep.
No, it's two door. They got the two door,
Oh,
which is
okay.
even better.
I know a four-door Jeep just seems
It's
wrong.
Yeah, like I can understand on like the Cherokee or the Grand Cherokee, but not a Wrangler. It's weird seeing a four door on a Wrangler.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, my cousin, he got like the pickup version, and he has the Gladiator.
oh yeah,
Yeah, he loves that thing.
but yeah, no, I'm actually, yeah, I like what Jeep's putting out. They have some like the Grand Cherokee is actually a very nice car.
Mm.
The Rubicon is nice.
Yeah, and
So,
I think they introduced it last year, but I saw it in like the grand foyer of the convention center, and like I think they had a Wagoneer exhibit.
yes, I think that yeah, I think you're right. I think they
Yeah, and I think that I don't know if this is the second year, but I know they're I think they're like slowly trying to bring that brand back.
they're doing a good job of it
Yeah,
too.
I mean, they're definitely capitalizing on the whole like SUV craze, and I mean the Wagoneer was like the first SUV, really.
Yeah.
So,
But they're putting out a good product. It's still American, so it's not like my completely crazy and bought a foreign car. Um, my wife has been looking at at a few different cars because she wants to buy something new in a couple of years.
mhm.
She's been looking at the Lincoln. She's been looking at a Lincoln Corsair. Um, she likes the Jeeps now too, so there's that. She she likes what Mazda's putting out, because Mazda has a couple of good stuff coming out.
Mhm.
She likes those, but then I showed her what Volkswagen had to offer right now, and she's like, "Whoa, wow, this is nice."
Mhm.
She's liking Volkswagen too, although that's a German car. But Volkswagen puts out a good product too. If I was
Yeah.
gonna buy a German car, that would be the company I would buy from.
No.
Uh,
Yeah. My dad, he when my mom was looking into getting a new car, he was like so. Even when I was getting a new car, he was really trying to get me to go for what is it? The Volkswagen Tiguan.
yeah, the Tiguan is nice. I had to admit.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I remember. What is that? One of my neighbors drives one, and it's a little weird because like how wide it is though. It like kind of puts me out. It puts me out a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I actually, if I'm gonna, I like their little bit smaller SUV, the Taos. That is nicer because it's not as wide, but it also has maybe it's not quite as roomy as the Tiguan is,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a good price and
Mm-hmm.
it does have plenty of room.
Mm. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why my dad was so obsessed. I don't know why he's so obsessed with the Volkswagen, but
I when I bought my car brand new, God, 12 years ago now, or 11 years ago.
mm-hmm.
Uh, I actually it was a I was looking at the Cruise. I was actually looking at the Cobalt, the car that came before the Cruise, um, and I ended up getting the Cruise because it wasn't that much more expensive. But I was also looking at the Golf, or the GTI, which I also thought was a cool car. But then I just ended up going with the Cruise because I liked the look, I liked everything that was there. But I came close to buying a Volkswagen
mm-hmm.
actually back then.
Mm-hmm.
So they're putting out a good product, and um, like I said, we've had this discussion before, but I really don't. I'm not saying that the electric car is not like it's not a bad thing to have out there, like to have you're looking for those alternate fuel sources.
Hmm.
I just really wish that there was more investment in some of like the hydrogen fuel cell technology, which Toyota and to their credit, Hyundai and Toyota are still doing that.
Hmm.
They still have the Toyota still has the Mirai. I forget what Hyundai's is, but it's like so someone is still investing in that technology.
Hmm.
Um, and to be honest, I actually think that that would be something that should happen. We should have.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We definitely talked about this before, and and I'm in agreement with you too, because hydrogen is one of the most abundant substances and also the most easiest to create.
Yeah. Uh,
You don't have to dig anywhere. You don't have to like destroy ecosystems or whatever. It's a simple what is it?
has everything that every one of these like tree huggers that like wants to, all these like super environmentalists should want.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
renewable. You can create it. You
Hmm.
don't. You don't. You can create hydrogen in a
Yeah.
fucking.
Or you're like, yeah, you can produce it without any detrimental effects to the environment.
You're not mining anything.
Hmm.
You're not. It's something that
Yeah, you're not destroying land. You're not polluting the air, but as a byproduct.
it's renewable.
Hmm.
You're not mining anything. You're not. I mean, outside of like actually creating the car itself, you're not really creating this quote unquote carbon footprint. It's like, and why that it's if these people actually really gave a damn about the environment, that's the one. That's honestly that's
Yeah,
the
that's the winner. That's the
you go.
winner right there.
The motors are pretty fucking powerful too.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and the byproduct of running, hydrogen, powered car is water.
yeah,
You know, so like yeah, so like not like not carbon dioxide, not carbon monoxide, just regular old H2O.
yeah. And the other thing too, it's one of those things where I'm not like I said, I'm not opposed to like having electric cars. I think that there's a place for that, but it's kind of like what you would do with your stock portfolio. You don't just dump everything into like the one stock and it's like, yep,
Hmm.
that's a smart decision. It's like, no, you diversify. We should have some petroleum powered cars. We should have some hydrogen powered cars. We
Or
should
at the
have electrically powered cars.
Right, but at the very least, we should not try and dump our primary source of transportation or primary source of fuel before we have like a viable replacement. I mean, everyone's like, oh yeah, like I mean, California test case, Gavin Newsom passing that law saying no new gas cars after 2035 or whatever. But it's just like, it's like, do you think everyone's just gonna drop, their gas powered cars and get an EV? Like,
Here,
no, that's impossible.
you know what it's going to create? Car market by that time is going to be insane. That's what he's going to create. He's going to essentially the legislation that was passed in California that is going to create a insane used car market. That's
Oh
what it's going to
yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah,
Everyone wants
exactly. Because
to.
everyone's by that time everyone's gonna, I hope, see the writing on the wall. And I mean, not to say that I don't want electric vehicles or anything, but they're gonna see like the cost. They're gonna do like their own cost benefit analysis, and they're gonna find out that EVs are not gonna save them anything.
No,
And they're gonna start looking, since there's not gonna be any more new gas powered cars after 2035 or whatever. Yeah, you're right. It's gonna cause an artificial inflation in the used car market.
because no one wants those fucking cars. That's what's going to happen.
Hmm.
Those battery like and credit to Elon Musk. He created probably the better version of the electric car with Tesla.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay, well, yeah, let's yeah, he created the most appealing version of the electric car.
He did.
And props to him.
But the problem is like I really don't like the amount of lithium that's going to be created because one, we can't recycle it. Once again, can't recycle them. If we find a way, great. If we can find an actual way to recycle those batteries so that they're not just dumped in a landfill, just dumping battery acid and whatever toxic waste into the ground, then I'm all for it. Okay, fine, great. That's something that we can because but like once those batteries go, man, like it doesn't matter if it's maybe they last 10, 15 years, maybe, but those batteries have to be replaced at some point,
Mm-hmm.
and they are really damaging to the environment.
Oh yeah,
To
not even just like after, they're processed and turned into batteries, but even before, the structure, just go into Google and in Google Images and look up lithium mine, and you think that you're looking at like, you know, you're looking at a chart of Dante's Inferno, like the different levels of hell.
yeah, it's
Just like
just
yeah, and you should look. It's like the devastation around that mine. And it's very interesting. There was a TED talk a while back. I don't know if it's still you can still find it on YouTube or whatever, but it was by this guy who's a professed like tree hugger and environmentalist. But even he says, even in his TED talk, he pointed out the hypocrisy of at least the advertisement of EVs as being environmentally friendly or whatever, without counting the cost of producing said EV. And that's like the diesel that went into the excavator that that dug into the ground, or the fuel that went into making the plastics, or the fuel that went into the boat to ship the battery over to the production facility, and so on and so forth. And just the total sum of the pollutants, and not merely just when someone buys a car. It's the entire production of the car. And then even after that, most power plants are still fossil fuel burning power plants. I mean,
yeah,
coal being chiefly among them. So it's not as though your energy is coming from a clean source either.
exactly. And right now, if you are wanting to, if you feel that like, oh, the environment's in danger and you want to be responsible with like how you're creating like your carbon footprint, you know what the most responsible thing you can do? Buy a used car. Nothing new is needed. You have you've just all you've done is trade names on the pink slip. It goes from one owner to another,
Mm-hmm.
and you've created nothing new. You're not necessarily really burning any new,
Yeah,
you
there's
know,
nothing. Yeah, no more new fuel or no more new chemicals or whatever is going into making that car, because it already exists.
it already exists. So
Yeah, and
that's
there's a lot of good quality used cars. Under like a couple thousand miles, and in really good condition. I
yeah,
mean, I,
or
I mean, I think I lucked out pretty good too. When I bought my first car, I bought a used car. And I mean, yeah, it was like the only
parents
thing I
did-
could.
yeah, my
It was like
parents
the
have
cost-effective thing for me at the time. Yeah, and so and that car lasted me. It was a '99, and I drove, and then I bought it in '04, and then I got a new car in '19. So I drove that car for 15 years, but that car was 20 years old.
yeah, you drove that thing for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there are a lot of great cars out there, with low mileage, or I mean, in the case of me, like my car already had like 90,000 miles on it when I bought it, and I still drove it for 15 more years.
Yeah. Or here's the other crazy thing too. Just don't buy a new car. Keep the car you have.
Hmm.
If it's
Yeah, instead of the money that you're gonna go put into like the down payment of a new car, just put that money into fixing up your new car or your old car.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing you can do. Unless there's something like terminally wrong with the car, and like
Yeah.
by the amount of money that you would spend fixing it, you could use to buy a new car. Okay, that's a different story. But if you just don't wreck your car and you maintain your car properly.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's a wrong perspective because a lot of people be like, oh, like I'll be putting more money into the car than it's worth. It's like as opposed to getting a new car.
And like I said, I'm not talking about, yeah, like I understand the appeal of a new car, but like I'm
Right.
also talking about being environmentally, quote unquote, environmentally conscious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, yeah, you're using your money, more money than you would to buy a new car. But guess what? If you care about the environment, that shouldn't matter to you.
Oh, well, I mean, well, I meant more of like, because like the depreciation. So they're like saying like, oh, I'm putting more money into than what it's actually, what it's valued. Like Kelly Blue Books, like it's like, yeah, but like it'll be running, right? It'll be working, and as opposed to spending at least what is it? At least 5 digits on the down payment of a new car, and then taking the next 5 years to pay off the rest of it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
uh, but anyways, I like I said, I do it because I've been going to the LA Auto Show since what 1990. I think I've missed one show since then. That's because I was in boot camp
Boot
for
camp.
the Navy. That was the only year I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since, yeah, I've been to every one, and it's not. Some of the shows have been like really big and like grand, grand. I don't know if it's because of with all the EV stuff, or because of all the the COVID craziness. They're not quite as big. It doesn't feel as big as it used to be. I don't know if that's because I'm older, or if it's just um or what. But but like I said, I still enjoy myself. Like I said, this is a family tradition that I will keep going as long as I can. I hope to bring my kids there someday. And the fact that my wife was super excited, like she was, are we going to go to the auto show this year? Are we going to go? Are we going to go? I mean, she was more excited than my family was. It's like, okay, well, you're definitely a part of our family if that's like something you're super excited about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that made it more fun for all of us because we have someone new to share all this stuff with.
Right.
And
Well, yeah, I think it's like it doesn't feel monumentous to you any longer. But I think I mean I don't. Yeah, I think that's why we have kids. Because when you have a kid, it's like everything is new to them, and it's like everything's so exciting, and you get to experience what that was like, through them.
yeah,
I mean, I don't have any kids, but I remember when my nieces and nephews were younger, and I would take them to places, and just like their excitement, and it's like, oh, like wow, look at this, and just like and just their you know astonishment at like something that they never really experienced before, or it's you kind of you tend to get excited for it too. Um,
yeah.
so.
And I think when it comes to, because why I get excited, my family, we don't have I've talked about this before. We don't have a lot of traditions.
Mhm.
This is one of those traditions. So I do get excited every year. Even though like maybe the show isn't like as good as it's been in like past years. But you know what? I get to spend time with my family. Obviously now we have a new addition to that family with my wife being part of our family now. So like, we have that. New Year's Day we go to Carney's and we have a chili dog. That's something that we do on New Year's Day.
Mhm.
We I'm trying to think of like what other traditions we really have that I can think of. It's like that, that's kind of it. Like we don't really have a ton of traditions. Um, like So the ones that we do have, like I get, once Thanksgiving and New Year's hit, like that to me is like I get excited.
Oh, do we lose Robert? See if he comes back. Come on back. Come on back. Did we lose him? I think we may have lost Robert. Stand by. Let's see if we can't get him back. But just kind of piggyback off of what he was saying. This is actually
Back,
there.
back
You
from
are.
the old.
Okay. Yeah, you froze there for a little bit.
Oh shit! All right. Well, what did you last hear from me?
What was it? I had New Year's tradition, Carney's chili dogs.
Yeah. Oh, so what I was saying is like, yeah, I don't have our family doesn't have many traditions, but the traditions that we do have, I cherish those.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have our family. We don't necessarily have like the heirloom that's been passed down from 6 generations past. It's but this is something that we do have, and so I as I've gotten older, I definitely appreciate it a lot more.
Mm, indeed. Yeah, and while you were gone, I was just saying that this was my first LA Auto show. I mean, of course, I was I was working, so I wasn't able to enjoy. But and it wasn't my first time at the LA Convention Center either. But yeah, it was still interesting and still enjoyable. Um, yeah, and I was and again I was just helping my friend out with his business. You know, and yeah, I mean, and this was his first time. This is his company's first time at the LA Auto Show, and so you know, it was also a learning. It was also a learning period for him. So if he ever does do another one of these kind of like trade show things, then he knows what to do and what not to do.
It's like it's glad he glad he was able to be there for his first time, and hopefully it was a successful show for him. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I said, hopefully the lessons learned from this first one, mistakes and successes, and hopefully he'll grow from there.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Yeah, let's get into the topics for today. Seeing as both of them are yours, I'll let you lead.
Okay, well, let's start off with the less fun one, and it's something that I like I said, I literally have no stakes in this game
Mm,
whatsoever.
okay.
Um, and I don't know if you've been hearing about, like, obviously the talks. I know there's legislation. I don't know if it's already been passed or it's going to pass, or about a lot of like all the vaping stuff. Obviously, you've seen all like the advertisements for, like, the demonization of vaping. It's killing kids, and it's creating all the bullshit. Like, I don't know if it's Rob Reiner's group or whatever, like the truth. Uh, the truth whatever.com or whatever the
Yeah,
fuck it's called.
it might be.
Yeah, but like before it was secondhand smoke is gonna crawl into you're gonna smoke a cigarette from 5 miles down the road, and that smoke is gonna travel and kill a baby, in like it's some apartment far away. It's like, no, it's not. Okay. Now it's like they're talking about how, like, oh, cigarettes are used, creating microplastics that are destroying the planet. They've gone away from the secondhand smoke and the killing of babies, that are, like, strangling little babies in their crib. Now they've gone to the microplastics destroying the planet. Blah 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 blah. But uh, they've also talked about how like, oh, like, the vaping and like how, the flavor, they call it flavored tobacco, but it's not, because there's no tobacco in there.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it's a little bit of a misnomer.
have nicotine that
Yes.
in
That's the only thing. That's it. It's nicotine in like some sort of suspended like solution.
Yes. Here's the thing though. The reason why these things were created, because we all know that cigarettes are bad for your health. That is actually proven science. We know
Yes.
it's bad for your health. Now, I'm not demonizing people who smoke, because I grew up in a family of, everyone smoked in my family.
Same.
Uh, but like on my mom, that's on my mom's side of the family, for sure. That's just how things were. It's so, it's like, but like, I don't think of them as evil people because they smoke. Big fucking deal. I have a lot of friends that smoke. It doesn't bother me.
Mhm.
No, it's not a habit that I picked up. It's not something that I wanted to do, but I know a lot of people that do. And and they know it's bad for their health. They don't, but it's like, it's fine. They don't care. It's kind of like, I like beer. Beer's not necessarily the best thing for my health, but I still like it. It's,
It's enjoyable to you.
bingo, exactly. So you have so a lot of like this other, like the vaping and the e-cigarettes and the vape pens and whatever, those were created so that it was a way to wean people off of smoking cigarettes. That's where, like,
Mhm.
all the stuff came from. And obviously uh they've had nicotine gum for, quite some time now. My mom
Mhm.
uses nicotine gum. Like, that's
Mhm.
how she's kind of gotten off of smoking.
Mhm.
um and it's like, so it's a way for you to get off of like the nicotine addiction. You wean yourself off of that.
Right.
That's what this is for. It's an alternative to smoking.
Mhm.
So now, but all of a sudden now it's kind of flipped. They were celebrating it like when it first came out. Now they're demonizing it, like, oh, how it's
Right.
destroying kids, and it's being targeted to kids because it's flavored and it's fun, and it's like, uh, excuse me, like, I don't. How is it being like targeted to kids?
Yeah.
Like,
Where is like the most recent commercial where it's like kids? It's funny because what is it? That insurance company, Washington Mutual or whatever. No, no,
yeah,
Liberty Mutual. Liberty Mutual. Like they have that parody commercial where it's like, oh, studies show that showing young people having fun, is the best way to advertise, whatever. And so it's like, kind of a dull party, and this guy with in like the Liberty Mutual like uh, logoed stuff like clothes comes in. It's like, hey, anyone call for Liberty Mutual and everything. Before it was like all drab and boring, and then all of a sudden like like the saturation goes up and like it's all happy and
yeah, exactly.
it's like so like where is the advertisement for vaping like for that you know
It doesn't
that's
fucking
that's supposedly targeting kids. I haven't
it.
seen it. Have you seen it?
No,
Exactly.
it doesn't fucking exist. That's where. Um, and so, now, like I said, I don't know if it's passed, it's going to be passed, or they're talking about it being passed, but like, it's going away. They are outlawing. As far as from what I hear, they're outlawing this stuff,
Right.
and I have a theory as to why. Because
Do tell.
so yeah, because my wife was, she's not into vaping or anything like that, but it's like, that seems kind of stupid. Like, why would they do that? It's like, well, and because, well, first of all, it was like we talked about, it's something that was helped people to stop smoking cigarettes. But obviously there's that nicotine addiction. This is how they get it. They get it through this thing, and yeah, maybe nicotine is not the best for you, but it's better than smoking 2 or 3 packs a day or whatever the fuck people are doing. This is an alternative. But here's the thing, though. from what I understand, it's taxed differently than cigarettes are. There's a reason why cigarettes are like $8 a pack now, or whatever the fuck they are. Like,
Definitely
because
more. Yeah, definitely more now. I mean,
because
yeah, because admittedly, yeah, I did used to smoke back in the day, and there was like maybe $4, $5 a pack.
you
Now it's
might,
like,
might be able to get crack for less. By
yeah,
the
seriously, that's not even an exaggeration.
hell, you could probably make meth for less.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but it's taxed differently, like because
Hmm.
it's not tobacco.
Right.
So I have a feeling because our country's broke, the
Hmm.
state's broke, the country's broke. Even though inflation is a beautiful, wonderful thing according to
Yeah.
our,
Oh, no, no, no. No, it's just transitory.
yeah, oh, yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
transitory until it's not, but then it's a good thing.
But here's where the actually, where we get into the real world.
Hmm.
You can't tax it. You can't tax it like you can cigarettes. So
Hmm.
they're banning this stuff because the government's not making money off it or as much money off of it. So they want to get people back onto smoking cigarettes. And because I know this sounds crazy. I'm dead serious because you take this one thing away. Well, I guess I'm going to smoke cigarettes. I need that. I need nicotine.
Hmm.
So they're going to get back to smoking cigarettes. They're going to pay
Oh,
all that fucking tax, and they're going to make more money because it's not the cigarette companies, it's the government, because the government is getting a huge fucking cut from all that shit.
right. Okay. I'm gonna make a slight modification. It's not that it's not that they're making money off of it. Is that it's that the vaping is working too well and getting people off of it, which is then causing them to live longer, but they're running out of money for all of the entitlements, like Medicare, Medi-Cal, whatever. And
Oh, they got
so
that giant Ponzi scheme that, like, which is illegal
yeah,
for
yeah,
everyone.
or was it Social Security? There you go. So that's what they're trying to do. They're not trying to do it just because they're not making money off of the e-cigarettes. It's because people are living too damn long, and that they don't have the money to pay them out, and they don't. They legitimately don't. And so like that's why they're trying to get them back on cigarettes because they want them to die.
You know what? I think we're both right.
I know it could be. It could be. It could be column A. It could be column B. It could be a combination of the two. But I wouldn't
Is
be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. 'Cause, I mean, yeah. I mean, we talked about this before, and it's like, yeah. Like when vape like first came out, they call it the electronic cigarette or whatever, and they touted it as merely water vapor, and it only had like the smallest amount, like the smallest amount of nicotine or whatever, and that it would actually help you to eventually quit smoking altogether. And yeah, there have been anecdotally I've heard people and I've known people who quit smoking through using vape. So yeah, I totally buy that. But also it's I don't know why they're still on like this nicotine thing because um, since like the whole smoking thing, they've done studies where they tested nicotine, uh, in the smoke form and the vape form, and they found that the vape form nicotine is way less addictive than in the traditional smoking form.
Yep.
And so like yeah, and like it's like the addictive quality is so low, it's equivalent to that of like caffeine addiction. It's like it's yeah. So like nicotine is no more addictive than caffeine in the vape form.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like again, also like, a long time ago, like at least like 4 years ago, there was a study done that nicotine could also be used to help or with as a treatment for Alzheimer's. I mean, I don't remember how effective treatment was, but it was enough to at least make note that it was helpful for the treatment of Alzheimer's. So it's like, why aren't we applying it, or why aren't we looking into this further?
Yeah, because I was reading up on some stuff about this, and I was like, this seems so ridiculous. Like, why are we, banning, like, maybe it's not like super healthy, but it's definitely a healthier alternative to what you could be doing.
Right, the traditional like smoked tobacco.
And the thing is, like, it doesn't necessarily have like the super dangerous, like, all the secondhand smoke, although a lot of those studies are fudged and
Yeah,
bullshitted.
yeah, yeah.
But like you said, like, as far as, like, the smell is definitely an inconvenience to a lot of people. Like, it's not pleasant. I'll be honest, it's not pleasant. I don't necessarily want to be in a smoke filled bar or bowling alley. Yeah, but if people want to vape, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Well, to be honest, actually, the whole, cigarette smoke, that doesn't necessarily bother me much either. But it's just like the whole vaping scene. That's a hell of a lot more pleasant than people who are smoking cigarettes.
True.
Um,
Yeah, and it smells better.
it smells better. It's somewhat healthier for them too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Is it obnoxious when like some douche like expels like this huge like vape cloud? Yes,
Does he
but
look like it? Sure.
yeah, yeah. He looks like a fucking homo. But yeah, but it's like that. But it smells like fruity pebbles as opposed to of like a burning tobacco leaf and tar.
Bingo. Exactly.
I think I might. I also might think I have a third.
Oh,
I have a third angle. I have a third angle, and that is because of the popularity of what is it? The marijuana vapes, and that they're not able to tax. They're not able to. They're federally they're not allowed to tax. Or no, is it state? They're not federally. I forget which one is not. I think it's federal. It's
Most likely.
federal. It's most likely federal. Yeah,
Okay.
because California what is it, legalized marijuana.
Right.
And so federally, they can't take that money because it was bought through, at under the federal law, the sale of an illegal substance.
Right.
So they can't collect the tax on that.
Yeah, because you also still can't transport that over state lines.
And there you
It
go.
can only be shipped. And it actually can't even be shipped through the mail. That's why there's so
Right, and then
many.
it becomes like a Smokey and a Bandit sort of thing.
Yeah, that's why there's so many local dispensaries,
Mm.
because which I don't think is a good thing, but that's part of the reason why there's so many, is because you cannot ship that through any sort of mail service,
Exactly.
civilian
Oh yeah, that's
or
why. Yeah, that's why they have those services. Kind of like Uber for weed.
good lord, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like just because the vape the vape stuff, it's like becoming really popular within like the pot smoking community, because you could like distill it down and like into oils or whatever, or
Yeah,
waxes, and then you could consume it through vape.
I have some like stoner friends that are like talking about, oh yeah, dude, like this thing is like it's like this one like little thing is like smoking like 30 joints. And I was like, why do you want to do that to yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking insane person.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I think that might be also another angle.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Hmm. So it's not so much, they're trying to go after like the smoke, like the flavored tobacco stuff, which isn't actually tobacco, but they're really after trying to go after the pot stuff.
Yeah, maybe. But
Yeah.
like I said, our country's broke, so that's I guarantee this is part of the reason. They're trying to shift people back towards something that they can make money
To
off of.
good old fashioned cigarettes.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
or they're trying to kill them. Either way,
They're
you know,
going to get back on their Lucky Strikes and Chesterfields and Marlboro Reds.
right? And they're camels.
Yeah.
Camel Deluxe. Oh man, dude, I miss the days when you're able to use cartoon animals to advertise cigarettes. You remember Joe Camel?
Joe Camel's the best.
I know,
Actually,
right?
they so well, like I said, my favorite. Well, at one point, my favorite sport. Not so much now, but NASCAR was the NASCAR Winston Cup Series.
Hmm.
It was sponsored by RJ Reynolds Tobacco, which was it had Winston. You had one of the sponsors too, like another sponsor for most famously for Jimmy Spencer was the Smokin' Joe's car. Like it was sponsored by Camel cigarettes,
Hmm.
which was to be honest was an awesome looking car. I'll admit. No, it didn't. Now me as a kid, did it make me want to smoke Camel cigarettes? No, fuck no, it didn't. But you had in like IndyCar, you had Roger Penske's cars were sponsored by Marlboro. You
Hmm.
had
And the Marlboro
in
Cowboy,
yeah, in
Marlboro
F1
Man.
you had like Strikes was like a big sponsor over there.
Hmm.
It's now honestly like sponsorships and commercials and stuff like that doesn't necessarily make me want to buy a product. For me, it's like, does the product work or does it? I don't. I was never like super influenced as a kid, like as, with like commercials because they're not real.
Hmm.
And people who believe in that, like, oh wow, that's what it can do. You mean I can get like it me like, was it like the Simpsons makes fun of like infomercials? It's like, so you're telling me that there's a gum that can like not only clean but straighten my teeth? Uh, it's like uh,
Yeah, or like
that's a,
what is it? Or even Family Guy. They do that. They lampoon the old Mentos commercials.
yeah.
It's like oh, that doesn't make me want to they do like the whole like Abraham Lincoln assassination thing, and then it's like oh, that doesn't make me want Mentos at all. No, it didn't work in me at all. And then Peter's like must kill Lincoln.
So, but it's just I just find it curious. Like I said, I have no skin in the game. I don't
Right,
vape. I don't smoke. I don't do any of that shit.
right.
But I just find it curious as to why this has become such a huge issue.
Hmm.
It really shouldn't be. If you're gonna ban something that is supposedly, quote unquote, bad for your health, we need to stop it. Well, okay, fine, ban cigarettes. If you've already done everything but ban them,
I know,
why
right?
don't you
You
just
like you keep telling people like, oh, these are really bad for you. It's like but you're not taking them off the shelf.
bingo? Exactly. If you really thought that these are a danger to people, they can't stop themselves from killing themselves with this stuff. We need to lower that fucking guillotine. Let's just fucking act them. We're gonna create a constitutional amendment to kill cigarettes. I would be against because fuck the government.
Yeah,
But
yeah, because it works so well with booze.
oh yeah, it worked great. Fucking church ladies that just couldn't get
Yeah, it's the ugly church ladies.
yeah. But that ended up becoming a money making venture for the government too.
Yeah,
That's why
absolutely.
yeah, it was a huge fucking disaster and they created a, a extremely giant problem that
Right.
still
Yeah. I mean,
permeates to
yeah.
this.
Because what is it? They outlawed it, and then so it just increased the black market for it. And it just increased criminality.
You turned local hoods into giant criminal
Yeah,
syndicates.
cartels. Yeah, you turn them into giant cartels. Which I'm sure won't happen with cigarettes.
Exactly. But like I said, if they were actually quote unquote thinking about like the people and wanting to do something good for the people, like, and they think like, man, people can't stop smoking cigarettes and they're bad for them. Well, we have this alternative that they can have that's like it's uh it's going to help them stop smoking, and it's not bad for their, it's not really bad for their health. Let's stop the thing that's hurting them so that we can force them over to something that is better, better for them. But that's not what they're doing. They're doing the exact fucking opposite.
Right. I mean, what is it? Oh, dude, I just had like the perfect little quip. Oh, I know. If they weren't pulling cigarettes off the shelves when people were accidentally burning themselves, with people falling asleep with like cigarettes in their mouths, then what the hell?
What
Why do you think what's it gonna take?
that well that I always look at like, especially like older movies, like with people like sitting in bed smoking. It's like, the past. Like, what is
Oh, the
the?
good old
I
days.
never understood the idea of smoking in bed. Like, what the? I
Oh,
don't
no. Well,
drink
okay,
beer in bed.
right. Okay. In fairness. Okay, when I used to smoke, I remember I went to Vegas and I was outside lounging by the pool, and I was like lying down. I was like lounging, and I was smoking. I was like, damn, this feels so good. Just like kind of like reclining back and just like having a cigarette. It felt so good.
Not in bed.
I know, but even still, like being in like that recline kind of position, there's something to it. There really is. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not advocating for it, but I'm
But
just
here,
saying that there's something to it.
you're a poolside. You weren't gonna burn down your fucking house.
Yes, but all I'm saying is I can understand, people in their beds because your bed is very comfortable. Okay, so I get the inclination to smoke in bed.
Everybody's stupid but me.
Exactly. Right, because I at least did it next to a pool, so if I burn myself, I can just jump in the water.
Your play dudes and your thick ones.
Yeah, all I'm saying is there's something to it. Just like being reclined and like having there's no better feeling. That's all I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
say.
take your word.
There's no better feeling.
I was always like, the whole idea of smoking in bed. It's like, oh, man, that's different.
I know. Again, yeah. Again, it's just
Plus,
the just being in the reclined position, just being in a reclined position. That's all I'm saying.
okay, but you get all that ash in your bed. Do you want that in your bed?
But it's not like you're flicking ash into your bed.
No,
That's why you keep.
actually.
I know if you're being a dumbass. Remember, everyone's stupid except for me. And luckily, and because of my hand, that's not really going to be a problem, is there?
Well, touche. Oh,
All
anyway,
right.
that's all I
Anyway.
can say about that. I just find it curious. Like, this is where like the idea that the government cares about us. They want they're out for our well being. No, they're not. They are going to find a way to make money out of any way that they can. They will outlaw or bar or elevate anything they can to make more money off of you. And that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, in context, let's remember that during the pandemic, that strip clubs and liquor stores were allowed to remain open.
That is true.
All right, and you think the government
COVID.
gives a crap? Although recently I did get some insider info that a lot of the strip clubs paid off the cops.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Of course they did. They probably got lap dances and blowjobs like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, but I got some I'm gonna say through a source, I did find out that like the reason why a lot of the strip clubs were permitted to keep open
Uh,
was because they're paying off the cops.
Now, is this CNN anonymous source or actual anonymous source?
Like actual anonymous source.
Got it. Okay, yeah, because we're not gonna add them here, but
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like, well, duh. That's like, of course they did.
Yeah. I mean that's obvious, but just like, but just and then that just goes to that just goes to government. That just goes to government corruption. Like even like the police are not. I mean, everyone knows this, but even the police aren't above being corrupted.
Of course not. They were the COVID speakeasies.
Yeah,
No one's wearing a fucking mask in those places. I'm sorry. I
probably. I
guarantee
don't know.
fucking see it.
I mean, well, probably. I mean, they're probably still doing like the fig leaf thing and like at least having them wear masks inside.
I highly doubt it.
I don't know.
I won't be surprised. But anyways, that's all I got to say about that.
All right.
Uh, yeah, but it like I said, just kind of like a curious thought. It actually was. I'll give credit to my wife who was talking about this, and like we ended up having this conversation about it. It's like, and she's like, it's fun. It's funny watching like when like her
The
mind
gears
turns.
turn.
Yeah, the
You saw the
gears.
gears turn.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh my god, that's fucking bullshit." It's like, yeah, most of the stuff that the government does is fucking bullshit. We are turning her towards like our because she's not a political person like we are. She's not necessarily like what she's not watching the news. She's reading articles. She's not doing the stuff that we do.
Right.
She's not like reading studies of it. Like bullshit studies. It's like, wait, this study doesn't mean anything. She's not doing that. But like she is, to her credit, she is someone that sees she is with it, and when she sees like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Exactly. You got it. It's like with all the stuff like oh how like the government our powers that be are it's the Putin price hike. It's like that doesn't make sense. They've been doing this for years. It's
Yeah,
like
I know. Yeah, it's like that video I saw on Twitter or TikTok where it's like this libtard and he's like at a gas station and he's like screaming at the sign. He's like you did this, Putin, you did this. It was like six something a gallon, and he was like. It's like and he's exactly how you would imagine. Like kind of balding. Round glasses. You know,
soy boy looking piece of crap.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you did this, Putin. This is you. I was like,
God.
oh my god, and I'm pretty sure it was in L.A.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, if you're from L.A., you kind of recognize some of the architecture, of the buildings, and it's like, oh, that looks kind of like this part of L.A. or that part of L.A. And this is definitely something like it looked like in West L.A.
that wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's so fun watching like her in real time realize how fucked up our government, especially now, really is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, a couple weeks ago we were hanging out for James's birthday, and he I was showing you that video of that Larry Elder video
Yeah.
of our Gen Zers who the most educated group of people know in the history of man, who also know nothing.
Yeah, it's like it was like that old talking point about like Cuba has the highest literacy rate in any developed country. It's like
Okay, great.
okay, great. Yeah, they could read all about they could read all about how they're poor.
Yeah. The my wife always talks about, like, I'm so dumb. I'm not that smart. I don't understand it. It's like, you want to feel smart? Here's people within your age range that know nothing. And it's like, you feel smart now? It's like, oh, I thought I was dumb, but maybe I'm not. It's like,
Yeah,
you're
no,
not.
it's like, yeah,
Because,
it's like those, like your wife is a Mensa candidate compared to those people in that video.
you
Did I
there?
lose you? Am I there? You see me?
Yeah, you're there. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, like, yeah, like your wife is a candidate, is a member of Mensa compared to those characters.
Dude, it's like, because I did that to make her feel better. It's like, honey, you're not dumb. You're actually very smart. These people, you know, here's the other thing. I guarantee none of those people can swim.
Man, I was really surprised at that. I didn't expect you to say none of them can swim. That was good. I was expecting you to say, like, oh, I bet they can't walk and chew gum at the same time, but if they can't swim. Oh. Oh man. Oh. Oh man. Oh. Oh, that was good. That was good. That was good. But why not swim?
Well, think about it. They all live in New York City.
Uh
They're not by any ocean. I guarantee they're not by. Maybe there's like one YMCA pool, maybe somewhat near them.
huh. Uh huh.
They ain't fucking swimming. I'm sorry. No one of those kids has been at a swimming pool. Maybe one of them has seen a swimming pool, maybe in a movie once,
Mm-hmm.
but they haven't been in the fucking water.
Uh, Probably. I mean, yeah, maybe. Oh, that was good though. Oh, oh, that was good.
But
Um,
yeah, like I said, we'll move on to the next topic,
yeah.
which is much more fun.
All right, hit us.
So another thing I was thinking about, like just based off of uh, some of the other stuff that I listen to. We talk about movies a lot on our channel, but like I also listen to some other like movie podcasts and stuff about, like, movies, on during the week. And I was trying to think of how why do people get one of them that I was listening to is, the idea of, we have so many different like franchises now, like as far as like movie franchises. um and obviously people get very passionate about them. They don't like when it doesn't go a certain way, or what have you. And there's some good movie franchises, there's some bad ones, there's some movie franchises that were like good that have become bad, or vice versa. And just the passion that people have towards them, I kind of find very fascinating. And I was trying to think of, like, what is it about, like, some of these stories, and there it's not just like one specific genre. It's in every type of genre of movie. where we have these franchises that people are very passionate about. But what is it? What about it? Why do you think that people get so? Uh, why do they get so passionate about it? I mean, we've talked it ad nauseum about Star Wars. That's obviously a franchise that you and I care about uh, a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but what is it about? Like, you could look at anything. Okay, we're not looking at Star Wars. We're looking at like Mission Impossible. We're looking at the Hard franchise, Terminator, Halloween, Friday the 13th. Like, what is it about like these popular franchises that like get people so why is it that they can't get enough, and then like and then so obviously like sometimes it's the law of diminishing values, like there's only so much that that can be done with certain characters or certain storylines, and it's hard to keep it fresh and also fun. But what do you think, Andy?
Well, I think. Well, I think. Well, in terms of why people get invested in it, let's take. I mean, let's take the one that the most overused one, and that's Star Wars. And someone put it really succinctly in that it's religion for non-religious people.
Yeah, I could see that.
And so kind of like us, as Christians, if someone came in and started like adding things to the Bible or taking things out, or we'd have a problem with that. If say that someone came out with a new Bible, but they made it all female centric, and and Mary was the hero, or for whatever reason, God, who was that slut with Samson? Delilah, yeah, it was this, yeah, the story centered around Delilah and her like struggle as being a woman in a patriarchal world, and the pressures of her, having to, serve like her country or whatever, as a Philistine, we would take umbrage with that. Um,
Yeah,
and so, so I guess for the similar reason, that's why people, I think, uh, in terms of investment, that's why people get so uh, they be
up in arms.
they yeah like let's say passionate. They get passionate about you know anything that that deviates from the established canon, or in really just like the the kind of naturally stated qualities of the characters. Because again, going back to the example of someone, maybe they made instead of Peter being the most important uh, disciple, they made Thomas the most important one. It's like but that's not what happened. It's like, oh well,
Yeah,
this is how I feel it to be true. And
this
it's
is
like,
my interpretation of
yeah, this is
things.
my
What
interpretation of events, and I feel Thomas was really the
is
more important of the disciples.
Yeah, okay. That does make a lot of sense. Like that's definitely why people get so they enjoy like a certain movie or whatever. But and obviously like because it's so popular, of course they're gonna make another.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, like, we are basing it based off of the first one, and we want something the same, that kind of has some consistency with the first one. It's just kind of a continuation of the story because
Right.
there's more to tell. But
Yeah, I
then
mean, we can't all be James Cameron, and make Terminator and then Terminator 2, but just the same story as Terminator 1, but just with updated graphics.
that is very true.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, but it's like, but I love both of them. You know, it's and I feel like for that franchise, I think they should have just left it at Judgment Day. But also in a deleted scene, you know, okay, I'll just continue. What is it? Cameron, he does go on and film um, what I would what I would call an epilogue scene with Sarah Connor as an old woman, and it not being the end of the world, and and John gets to grow up and become a man, and I think he still becomes a leader, but he becomes like a senator or something, and she's able to, and John is able to have a family, and she's able to be a grandmother, and I think that would have been the perfect end for that particular franchise. But instead, Cameron went the way of uncertainty, which I'm not mad at him for doing that. At the end of Terminator 2, there's that shot of the lines in the road, and the headlights, and Sarah Connor's giving that monologue, talking about all the future's uncertain, and you know, um, um, uh, future's uncertain, and uh, and it leaves it kind of open ended to like maybe for another sequel, but I think that was a good way to still kind of close out that franchise. But for some reason, they decide to pick it up again, for T3, and then Salvation, and then
Terminator Salvation is a good movie that people don't. I do actually like Terminator Salvation. Kind of like it's like Terminator 1, 2, and Salvation for me.
mhm,
The rest of them are okay to terrible.
right, I feel the same way as you do. It's not a terrible movie, Salvation, um, but I don't think it really adds anything more to the canon, except maybe like it gives maybe like a good backstory of like, oh, John Connor didn't always start out as like the head honcho of the resistance, because they're bound to have been like some surviving elements of different the U.S. military, or or other countries' militaries, and they would have formed like the military resistance leadership, and
It's
and
the
John Connor could just have been like been a part of it.
it's the only film that actually deals with the future war with Skynet and the humans. And
Yeah,
I
but I
think
wish they had laser guns.
that honestly that is what people wanted to see. And did it do everything right? No, but it's a good movie, and it deserves more credit than it got.
Right. Yeah, and it didn't like nauseatingly use all like the member berries. Um,
It didn't. That
yeah,
see,
like because like yeah, like what is it? Yeah, they did like the whole Kyle Reese, come with me if you want to live thing, with like the kid that was in the Star Trek films.
yeah,
Um, and they did like and they used the boombox with the Guns N' Roses song, as the trap. So that was pretty, that was fun. But yeah, again, it did it right. It wasn't heavily reliant on Cameron's Terminator.
yeah. But like I said, it's I look at that, and you know, all these franchises have their high points and their weaknesses.
Mhm.
It's one of those things where you can't always have you can't always hit it out of the park every time. Marvel for a time was kind of doing that for up until outside. Okay, Captain Marvel was kind of like the first, like, for me, was like, I have zero interest in that film. If you like it, that's great. I'm not gonna discount you for if that's the movie that you love, great, go for it. But it's not for me. But other than that film, from Iron Man up until Endgame, those were mostly home runs. You could argue Dark World's not very good, whatever, but it's
Yeah, we'll
still
call that a double.
it's mediocre. I'll say it's mediocre. Um,
I was just going with your baseball analogy. So
yeah,
you know,
it's a
yeah. So
single.
dark, yeah, a single. Okay.
Yeah, it's a single. It's you got on base,
Mhm.
but I mean, yeah, sure, it's a double edged sword. No one's gonna watch. No non crazy person like myself is gonna watch 25 movies in a row to get that payoff at the end. Um, but at the same time, like it's like that's also their strength because they all sync up together in some way or
Yeah,
some form.
even though even though the movies aren't helmed by the same directors, and sometimes and sometimes they take like the character in a vastly different direction.
Yeah.
Kind of like with Ragnarok, up until that time, Thor has been pretty much kept in that kind of like Shakespearean, you know, Norse macho man kind of frame. But when Ragnarok came out, they went completely goofy, which I think is fine, and I think worked for like the type of world that they were trying to set up.
That that one worked. Um, but yeah, like I said, the next one after that was a complete fucking disaster. And actually, Chris Hemsworth does not even want to work with that director anymore because
Mm.
he's tired of being the butt of everyone's.
Yeah,
Uh,
goofy Thor. I mean, yeah, and it's kind of sad because I think Chris Hemsworth has an amazing sense of comedic timing, and so and it was a treat. It was definitely a treat. But like to have that again, I didn't see it, but from what I'm hearing, from what you're saying, is that's kind of what we got, but like amped up substantially more, and like Thor was being more the butt of the joke.
oh, it was awful. See, Thor 11, Thor Ragnarok was it never crossed the line of being just too fucking ridiculous. It was funny, but it was also there was like high stakes and like some seriousness to it,
Mhm.
which is like what Marvel has been doing, which is great. Thor: Love and Thunder, fuck anything serious. The only serious character was Christian Bale's character, the villain.
Mhm.
Everything was a fucking joke. The acting was a joke. All that shit and it was awful. And it was to the point where Chris Hemsworth, who he never named names, but it's definitely talking about the director, Taika Waititi, is like,
Mhm.
I will never work for this person again.
Mhm.
Um, and in fact, like it's gotten to the point where it's like he doesn't even want to play Thor anymore
Mhm.
because of like what has happened to his character, how Marvel and this director has treated his character because he doesn't want to be a joke. And think about it, like a lot of the in maybe it's his own career mismanagement, but he's played these characters that are jokes, like Ghostbusters, the female Ghostbusters.
Right.
He was the butt of the joke in that one,
Yeah.
and it's like they've made him in this like dumb jock type. It's like, but I'm not that guy. Like I can do better than this.
Right.
And it's like I mean he took the paycheck. That's on him.
Mhm.
But he's like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Mhm.
But when it comes to franchises, like, yeah, you're right. It is like we care about these characters, we care about the stories, we want to see. It's the same thing with like book series. We like the characters. We want to see what happens to them. We love these characters, and we just like we know that there's more to the story, especially if it's like why like detective serials do so well. why these like cop dramas do so well on television. It's like because we like these characters. We want to see.
I mean, yeah, like look at NCIS. They're like on their fourth
Law
spin-off.
and Order.
Yeah,
Law and
Law and
Order.
Order too. They had 3 spin-offs, and then CSI. They're like on their 5th spin-off.
And before
Which technically CSI Las Vegas is just a reboot of the original CSI.
yeah, and before that, you have like your Matlocks and your Murder She Wrotes and your Diagnosis and all these other like all these detective shows that people love. Dragnet. It's like it's because people like these characters. They want to see their characters do well. Mission Impossible was another one that like did was another super popular series back in the day. It's now also becoming a very popular franchise, which I'm a huge fan of. Outside of number 2, which is at best okay.
That's pretty generous.
God, that will have to be another Schlocktober entry at some point.
God, you really do hate yourself.
God, I really do hate myself. Yeah. Fucking hate me. But anyways, and that's actually my first Mission Impossible movie. I
at least saw the first one.
No, I had never seen the first one up until a couple years.
Even that one got ripped a little bit because they're like, "Oh man, it's so slow," and whatever.
That movie is fucking awesome. I'm sorry, that movie is great.
I know. I mean, I'm not speaking for myself. I'm speaking like other people's criticisms. All right, to be clear.
I was like, well, those people are dumb, Andy.
Well, those people are jackasses.
Well, and the other thing too, because obviously, like we have friends who are in the horror business, and horror franchises are big too. Like we have, you have your Friday the 13th, your Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. Halloween obviously is like been more in the news lately because we've had the recent Halloween movies, and people are kind of like, I like it, and like they get very upset by it. And also, with the other thing with Halloween too, I love the original. I think it's great. I think it's a very significant movie, and it kind of spawned, or if not spawned, it respawned maybe like the kind of the slasher franchise to a degree. Because there's other slasher films back in like the 70s, in the early 70s. But Halloween was definitely the most like, whoa, shit, this is awesome, and it is. And you got Halloween 2, which John Carpenter didn't really want to do, and then you had Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which is an anthology movie. It's kind of all these stories, and Michael stuff is connected to that. It's one of the Halloween stories, and that's what John Carpenter wanted to do. He wanted to create these where all of his Halloween movies were telling a different story that were based, set during Halloween. The first Halloween was one of those stories that he was trying to tell, but it became so popular that now all outside of Halloween 3, it's all Michael Myers all the time, and there is, to a degree.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you could say that he was a victim of his own success in creating such an iconic character as Michael Myers.
And that's what happens with like these franchises. Sometimes it's like the director and the writers they have kind of like an idea of where they want to go, and they have all these big ideas, but because of the success that the first one has, now we have to have all these other ones, and it's like, okay,
right. Yeah, and it's kind of like with the X-Men franchise now. Hugh Jackman became like the star of it, and not without merit, of course. He did an excellent job as Wolverine in the first one.
Wolverine. Did you know that he's going to be the new Deadpool?
Yeah, that's right. He's coming back. Yeah, he's taking up the role again,
which I love. I'm happy about that. But at the same time, it's like, who knows what it's going to be like? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be crazy? Who
Right.
knows?
Exactly, and I mean, but again, like, because with the X-Men, yeah, Hugh Jackman became such a huge hit that that no one else could really be the star of that franchise. It's like it's not as though they could like shift the story and like focus on Cyclops, which Cyclops is an interesting character. All right, the movies did him dirty.
They did. They really did.
Yeah, but if they shifted to like I mean they eventually shifted Jean Grey because they want to do the Dark Phoenix saga or whatever. But there's no way that they could have shifted to like to Storm or or any other of the other team members. It always had to be Wolverine.
Here's something to think about. If Marvel had all of their properties
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning, do you think that we would have had individual movies based off of like characters from like the X-Men? Like, would we
Oh, like
have
kind
like,
of like what they were trying to do, like Origins. Like they were trying to create like a spin-off kind of franchise.
yep, right. So here's in the case, like, started the MC, let's say like when they started the MCU. So we're talking about like 2008 with Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously they Iron Man was like one of their B characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, if they had access to their entire, I mean, obviously Spider Man would have been part of that right from the beginning.
Right, and
But if
Fantastic
they
Four.
had, let's say, access to all the X Men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would we have individual X-Men stories, like as far as like Wolverine or Cyclops? Do you think that they would have done like certain characters or certain storylines, like for films? You think? Because we had individual, we had the Iron Man movie, we
Right, right,
had
right.
the Hulk, we had Captain America. Would they have done the same thing with the X-Men?
I doubt it because the only person who like really had like their own solo comic was Wolverine. Um,
So we probably would have had a Wolverine movie.
yeah, but it would have been him like joining the X Men, or or it could have been true to the comic books, and it could have been Wolverine versus the Hulk.
Oh yeah. Would we have had a beginning of the X-Men, like kind of like what we got with like
First Class.
First Class, which I think is a great film, by
I
the
do
way.
too. Which was done by what's his face? Who did Kingsman?
Yeah,
Matthew Vaughn.
that movie is fucking awesome.
Yeah. Um, with the original first generation X Men, that would have
Yeah,
been cool.
I think
That would
that
have
I
been
think we would have gotten something like that,
cool.
which would have been great. And I kind of hope we kind of get something like that with the MCU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with this channel, but there's this guy who who does tweaks to movie scripts and stuff.
Hmm.
Or Nando V movie.
Okay, I have not heard him. Yeah, but
Okay.
I'll have to check him out.
But he did like his fan casting for X Men,
Hmm.
and I don't remember all of them, but I do remember his choice for Professor X, and I tend to agree with him, and that'd be Mark Strong.
Mark Strong.
Yeah. If you watch the Kingsman movies, he was Merlin.
Oh shit! Yes.
If they're gonna recast it and like and start over and like even do like a more like first generation X Men type of Professor
Yeah.
Xavier, then
Great.
yeah, he'd be great.
Yeah, I didn't recognize the name, but like now once you said, oh yeah, it was Merlin. Oh fuck
Mm,
yeah, he'd be great. He'd
yeah.
be awesome. Because I mean, obviously, when X-Men came out, Patrick Stewart was the obvious fucking choice
Yes.
for Professor Xavier.
Hmm.
He's too old to do that now.
Exactly. Yeah, he's like 80 years old or something.
To be honest, I would be my hope is that they would get James McAvoy to play
Reprise
that
the
part.
role.
But Mark Strong would also be fantastic.
Yeah. Especially
He's
if they want to get like the age right to get like a, kind of like an older mentor type, but still young enough to like maybe keep doing the role for a little while.
he could play that role for like 10 years.
Hmm.
He would be fantastic.
Hmm.
Yeah, because if you get Professor Xavier right, like the rest of it is not so hard.
Mm.
Because I think, and in fact, like a lot of the casting that they did, from like the original X-Men movie to like like the First Class, Days of Future Past like casting,
Mm.
it was perfect.
Mm.
They really did a great job. Um, and God, like I said, those movies, we'll have to cover those movies at some point because I don't think we've done any of those.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah,
Yeah, not that I can recall.
but yeah, I ended up I did a my wife and I we did a rewatch of all of those because I was, man, I haven't seen the the first X-Men movie since like 2000.
Hmm.
So I was like, I gotta watch that again. And I was like, yeah, this movie is really fucking good. Um, but yeah, like I said, with the franchises, like especially like in the horror world too, like people really get super invested in that. Like, uh, I don't think there's been a new Friday the 13th in a long time.
Hmm.
But yeah, like you need to have like a good Jason Voorhees, and you need to have with Nightmare on Elm Street, you want to have a good Freddy Krueger. Like Robert Englund is a superstar because of that. Uh,
Absolutely.
and they did a remake what like 10 years ago,
Hmm.
and it was fucking awful. And partly because it's not Robert Englund, but like the effects looked weird. It didn't have the same charm, and like I said, part of that has to do because have a guy like Robert Englund doing it. And Robert Englund, I don't think even liked the remake either. He's like, this is fucking terrible.
Hmm.
Um, like with Jason, obviously Jason Voorhees, he is the first movie is really intriguing because you're thinking it's like this. You're not sure who the killer is. It's kind of like, although it's a gruesome movie, but it's a who done it. Like who's the killer? Who's killing off all these camp counselors and stuff like that? And it turns out it's the mom of this kid who died, 12 years ago, and she blames like all the camp counselors and stuff. And it's like, even though like all those people were not involved in the camp back then, she is taking revenge against them, and it's great. It's really good, and it's scary. And then obviously from then on, you get the return of like this zombie that like of this dead kid from like the lake that either he survived, maybe he's a supernatural creature,
Hmm.
who the fuck knows, and who cares? That's kind of the point. You get
Right.
Jason Voorhees, but then you get like after like a couple of movies, you get like these ridiculous, crazy scenarios, and there is some charm to that. I do love a good schlocky movie. Like one of my favorites is it's a bad movie. It's Jason X. It's like the 10th one.
Of
He's
course.
fucking face. And it's so fucking dumb. But it has some fucking awesome kills, which is part of the charm of a good slasher.
Of course.
Is you
Yeah.
want to
The what is it? The
the
highly
liquid
inventive, unconventional kills.
yeah, the liquid the I can't say
The
that.
liquid
The
nitrogen.
nitrogen kill
Yeah.
in Jason X is fucking amazing. It's great. Um So I mean, there's stuff like that, like where you get like these great moments, but like the movies are not good. They're terrible, but they're at the same time you still love. And maybe because you love the character, you love the villain. In the slashers, obviously, the villain tends to be the star. Freddy Krueger,
Hmm.
Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers. Those tend to be the heroes of the, or like at least
Yeah.
that's what we want to see. We want to
They're
see,
the main characters, not necessarily
yeah,
the good guys, but they're the main
yeah.
characters.
We want to see Michael Myers stab the shit out of a bunch of like college co-eds. It's,
Hmm.
that's what we want to
It's what we
see.
want. It's what we expect.
And that is half the charm of those films. You have like in like Mission Impossible, although Mission Impossible is one of the franchises has like one okay movie and the rest of them are awesome. Like, and I can't wait for like the new ones to come out. Like Ethan Hunt is one of the coolest characters of all time. Like he's amazing.
Hmm.
Half of that is Tom Cruise. Once Tom Cruise dies or is no longer able to reprise the character,
Hmm.
that franchise is dead.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they were trying to do with Ghost Protocol. They were, they were trying to do the handoff to Jeremy Renner.
That's the same thing that happened with Jason Bourne too.
Yeah.
He was, and people didn't like that film. And it's like, are you insane? He is a great character. The movie is awesome. It's kind of like Jason Bourne is not. He was not the only person that went through this program,
Hmm.
but Jason Bourne was kind of like their hit guy. Like he's
Yeah.
the one. Like everything worked because these other guys didn't have the same abilities. They didn't have. They were lesser than. So yes, Jeremy Renner's his character was a lesser version of Jason Bourne, and he required certain things that Jason Bourne did not need. But at the same time, that's fucking intriguing and cool. Uh, and so that I'm so mad that that movie did not do well because it was fucking great.
Hmm. Yeah, because I mean,
And I
if you think about it, Ethan Hunt's natural progression should have been to become the new, secretary of the IMF.
exactly.
But no, he's like, no, but like, I think whether because of the studio or just Tom Cruise wasn't ready to give it up yet, it's like, no, I still have to be the man in the field. Uh,
No, here's the thing, is because for whatever I have a feeling that for whatever reason, this also comes to the point of like the problem with sometimes is that people don't like change,
mhm,
and they kept calling Jeremy, because Jeremy Renner was kind of supposed to be the successor for several franchises.
mhm,
And they're
that's
like,
right.
oh, that's why they called him the franchise killer because every movie that he was kind of like supposed to be the guy, the next guy, did terribly. And so it's like, oh, well, we don't like him. And so yeah, he became the franchise killer. It's like, well, that didn't work. We're not gonna do that again.
Mhm,
And I don't know if it's because Hollywood is terrible sometimes at their job, or if it's the audience that is just too dumb to realize that like sometimes change is good, and you have like this great actor that does not get a lot of credit. People will there's a ton of people who like, what the fuck is Wind River? They've never seen the movie.
right. I kind of
What
wish
a
that they don't, but
yeah,
they may be missing a great, a performance by Jeremy Renner.
that movie alone shows what a great actor he is.
Oh yeah,
Or
absolutely.
hell, if you watch like he's on a Paramount Plus TV series called The Mayor of Kingstown.
Uh huh.
Watch that fucking show. It's great.
Yeah, I know. It's like from the very first moment that I saw Jeremy Renner, like I knew that he was gonna be big, and
Yeah,
I, and it just kind of sucks that like because of whatever reason, like maybe a bad bad script or maybe bad a good part at the wrong time. It's kind of derailed his career.
I actually want to see his film debut, which I've not seen, is Dahmer.
Mm, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he played. which is like, oh man, that has got to be one hell of a debut.
Mhm. Yeah, because I mean, I remember. I think the first time I can't quite remember if it was like an episode of House that he was on or a movie he was in as my first time seeing Jeremy Renner. But like regardless, even still, like I knew that he was gonna be a great actor.
You kind of know the guys
Or
that are like, this guy is going to be something big.
mhm.
You don't know, like, you don't know how big or whatever, but it's like this guy is going to be super popular. Um, and yeah, he's definitely one of those guys. But yeah, what I think, I don't know if it's like necessarily like, is it the fans, is it like Hollywood, or or is it a mix, is it a combination of the two that like kind of makes it like where you can't, once these franchises become super popular, like they just don't, you can't, sometimes you can't recapture the magic, and like the first film is the best and the rest of them are like kind of like eh, and then some of them, they have a good run, and then it's like, oh, we're gonna reinvent the wheel, like we're gonna do the same thing but different, and it's like, no, but you didn't do that. That's the problem. That's why it sucks and nobody likes this one. um and I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean it's yeah, it's I think it's a combination of everything. It's people want when something new and exciting happens, but it's just begging for a sequel, which then begets a franchise. People are eventually get burned out. It's like it's like with any genre. Like I mean, right now we're in the age of superheroes, and previously it was the age of like mob movies, and then before that it was like westerns. Um,
Yeah,
so it's just the natural. It's kind of like the different stages of empires.
true.
It's just every empire has a rise and a fall. And some and a lot of great stuff happens in the middle.
Do you, like, outside of Star Wars, do you have some, what are some of your favorite franchise movies?
Lord of the Rings is good.
So
The
the Lord of the Rings trilogy is good. The Hobbit
Hobbit
really
trilogy.
pissed. I was like, nope. After the first one, I was like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, I mean they're not my favorite, but they're Citizen Kane compared to the Amazon series.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Let's see what else is a good franchise or a franchise that I like. Well, I mean you pretty much name it. Like the Mission Impossible franchise. That's good. I like those.
Yeah, I even, as bad as the second one is, it still has some charm to me.
Yeah.
I don't hate. I mean, compared to the rest of the Mission Impossible films, I hate the second one. I that's one that I was like, hey, I don't need to watch the second one. I'll occasionally, if I'm up to it, I'll be like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll watch the second one. But
Yeah.
the whole series has been fucking great for the especially number three. Number three just like blew me
Yeah, I
away.
mean that's the one that turned it all around.
Yeah,
Um, and this might be a controversial one, but I enjoy the Fast and Furious franchise up until about seven.
you saying that makes me. It's like, well, fuck. Now maybe I should watch this.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the best thing ever, but I'm just saying I enjoy it.
I The first one just pisses me off in like a bunch of ways. One, it Point Break
Yeah,
is a
Point Break.
version of Point Break.
Mhm.
Number 2, a lot of the car scenes are fucking bullshit. You don't need to shift that much.
I know. It's like what's past Gear 6 here, or
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is like all those scenes of like all the like the what should be cool car chase scenes or whatever.
Uh,
We got to have all this unnecessary fucking dialogue. Have you seen guys? Have you seen Bullet? Have you seen The French Connection? There's not a whole lot of fucking dialogue in the chase scene, but guess what? Those are iconic fucking chase scenes. You don't need some bullshit crazy ass dialogue in it.
yeah, I know. The
Have
second
you
one kind of overdid it with like.
seen or Jack Reacher or Drive? These great car chase scenes. Give me a fucking break. I hate when there's all
Yeah, or
this.
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver's another one. You know, it's like that. I mean, that's a little bit sillier, but it doesn't have like a lot of insane fucking dialogue that unnecessary bullshit dialogue.
True. Yeah, but yeah, I'm like I enjoy them. Am I saying that it's Shakespeare? No.
No, it is a. I'll admit they are great popcorn films. I think the first one really just upset me because like one, I love Point Break, and it's like okay, that this is just a rip off of that. And then it's like at the same time, I'm also a car guy and I like car movies. And this just like it felt like it pissed on me on that end too. It's just so it made it like where it was so hard. Like I don't know if I want to watch the second one. I don't know if I want to watch like the 134th Fast and the Furious movie.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, but again, like I only endorse up until the seventh one.
All right. I mean, do you like Hobbs and Shaw?
That was entertaining, but I would not recommend.
Oh god, if I was gonna go for franchises, oh man, yeah, Mission Impossible is obviously there. I do. I mean, although it's only 5 of them, I do love the Die Hard franchise.
Oh yeah.
I like. So 3 of the 5 are great. The other 2 are okay. Die Hard 2 and
The last Die
a
Hard.
good A Good Day to Die Hard are okay.
Fair. Fair enough.
Um, you know, a franchise that like no one talks about. We have covered I think the first one. I think we talked about the first one. Zatoichi.
Mm.
There's 5 of those films. They're all really good in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like if you're a fan of if you like the old like serials of the 30s, Zatoichi is kind of like a movie serials. And what was unique about them is obviously you're following the same character, obviously with different storylines, and you'd have all these like great actors who would be brought on board.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Toshiro Mifune, a lot of all like the great famous Japanese movie stars of the day wanted to come aboard and be a part of Zatoichi.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Shintaro Katsu was like kind of a charismatic guy. People wanted to work with him. Hell, he was going to be in a Kurosawa film if he wasn't a drunk degenerate gambler and pissed off Kurosawa. Been in a Kurosawa film. Kurosawa did want to work with him.
So
But yeah,
funny
like
because he put up with Toshio Mifune though.
Mifune wanted to be a part of it. He was
Well, no,
able
I'm
to
just
get.
saying it's just so weird because I mean after that documentary we saw, Toshio Mifune, he wasn't a choir boy himself,
No, he was not.
and
And
but
that
and yet what is it? And yet Kurosawa put up with him and worked with him like for how many years?
and gave him like essentially carte blanche to like, you got it, you do whatever you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
He never did that with any of his other actors.
Exactly.
He was considered the emperor. Like, you don't fuck with Kurosawa. But for whatever reason, Mifune was given carte blanche. Like, you got it, dude. Like, you're perfect. You got it. But yeah, man, that means like Shintaro, if he was able to deal with Mifune, although they did have like their epic,
Yeah, they're
drunken,
falling out.
but yeah, Shintaro Katsu was really fucked up with Kurosawa
Yeah.
because yeah, that's like one of like the what if stories. Like, man, that would have been an interesting, what he could have done, because Shintaro Katsu is a good actor, and uh, the Zatoichi franchise is really awesome. And if you haven't seen it, go to Criterion, the Criterion streaming channel. You can watch all of them, or you can buy the Blu-ray, the Criterion Blu-ray, which I have. You get all 25 movies
Mm-hmm.
and check them out. But yeah, like I just, I just find it fascinating, like how these franchises, for whatever reason, like you almost can't change. Like once the first film becomes super successful, it's really hard to go different. It's like if you have an idea, and it's like you want to have, you want to like kind of, you want to have different stuff go on, like, or like, in the case of like Halloween, there was never supposed to be like a Halloween 2, like, which was a continuation of the Michael Myers story. It was supposed to be Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. It was kind of this anthology story. It was supposed to be like different stories for each Halloween film.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't quite happen, because Halloween 3, that is one of those films that people really love. And then you have others that are like, fuck that movie. That's not a Halloween film. Fuck it. And they just kind of like cast it out of existence.
Mm.
It's kind of the, I consider it like the, in the, like with it, in the video game world, it is the Zelda 2 of, movies, where it's like you have, Zelda 2 was like, oh no, Zelda is supposed to be this like top down, video game. What the fuck is this side scroller that you've given us? And there's never been another Zelda film.
Mm.
And just like in the case of Halloween, there's never been another apology film, or like a different Halloween story. It's because people reacted so terribly to the third one. That's why we don't have it. That's why we don't have that anymore. And there's a lot of people who like love that and wish we had gone that direction, and they kind of have grown tired of like the Michael Myers. Like how many iterations of Michael Myers can we get when there's other stories to tell? And there's other people's like, it's not if it's not a Halloween movie without, and like they just want more of that.
Right.
And
Well, also, but also, Hollywood is a very risk averse. You
that's the
well,
other thing.
well, also, yeah, it's like they're very risk. Like all the studios are very risk averse, so they,
Pussies.
yeah, they're pussies. So if they know that this thing works, then they'll pretty much, ride it to the wheels fall off.
Well, and the original Halloween made a fuck ton of money. That's the other
That too.
thing.
That might have incentivized them.
That's they wanted to keep that money train rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the other reason why these other franchises exist too, because when we did our review of Prom Night on A Cut Above, Paramount really wanted to produce or distribute the prom night, and the guys that created that movie were like, well, like how you're gonna distribute it, so we're not gonna know. And then they picked up Friday the 13th, this little known film, Friday the 13th, and that became a huge success for them. And that's kind of one of those things where like it's a budget of like you know like $10, and then they make like you know 300,000 bucks. It's like they make so much money off of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, it's like, oh, we're gonna keep this money. These movies don't cost that much, and we're making so much more on the back end of it. And that's, like I said, Hollywood is a money making business. Can't argue with that. And these cheap movies that make money, uh, yeah, I made a $10,000 investment. Now I'm making like $300,000. That's a pretty good investment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also part of it too, especially when it comes to like horror films, which are historically not very expensive to make.
Mm.
I don't know what is it. What is it about horror films? Like, why are they always so inexpensive? They are like the cheapest movies to make, and yet they make.
Well, maybe. Well, probably because a lot of them are single location, um, and it doesn't require a huge cast. Like this, I mean, outside of a few like party scenes, like it's usually just a handful of people, and because what is it? A lot of times, people's big breaks are through horror movies. A lot of people are willing to, a lot of nobodies are willing to basically do it for nothing.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, a lot of people get their start in horror films, but yeah, it is consistently the cheapest genre to make.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at like one of the great classics, Psycho. Now, Alfred Hitchcock challenged himself to he wanted to make the movie on like $1 million or less. He did that. He used his television crew for that he from his show, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Black and White. He met all his goals and created arguably the most iconic horror movie of all time. Like people still like are dedicated like psycho heads. Like they watch that film religiously. I am one of those people included. I all the fucking time. Um, and it's like, yeah, it is consistently. It's the most like underregarded when it comes to like awards. Like you're rare. Hitchcock never won an Academy Award. Um, another like iconic horror movie, The Shining, that didn't win any awards. Or at least Kubrick never won an award for
Mm-hmm.
that film. It should have. Um, you have the only horror film that I know that actually got a bunch of accolades was Silence of the Lambs.
Really?
Well, Silence of the Lambs, like it swept the Oscars that year.
That's true.
Every category it was nominated for won.
Yeah, and what is it? Anthony Hopkins won an Oscar for that movie, right?
Yeah, yeah. Anthony Hopkins won. I think Jodie Foster won. It won for Best Picture. It won for it won like five or six awards that year. Everything that it was nominated for, it won.
Wow.
And it is only one of only I think two films that had won every award that it was nominated for. So, and the fact that it was a horror film on top of that is says something.
Hmm.
But
Signs of the Lambs
yeah,
really a horror film though?
well that is the argument, is it? Is it a detective film? Is it a
Is it thriller or is it suspense? Is it suspense, thriller, horror?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
kind of
know.
the argument.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, like I just find franchises fascinating. Obviously, and I'm not like on the outside. Like I do like a lot of these franchises. I'm invested. I want to have. I like the stories. I want I want to see these characters continue. Um, some of them are more have more continuity than others, but I just find the thought exercise fascinating.
Hmm.
And I think you said it best. It's religion for non-religious folks.
Yep. All right. All right. So I'm sensing we're done with this topic.
Yeah, I don't have anything more to say about it. I
So,
was just like I said, I found it. I just thought I'd pose that question and thought exercise to you.
all right.
I'm sure we'll talk more about franchises in the future at some point. It's not but yeah, I thought that'd be fun to talk about.
All right. With that brings us to our movie review. Just to remind you, the theme for this month, and actually this is the last movie in this theme, and that's Degenerate Gamblers. And this tonight we'll be reviewing Poolhall Junkies from
Yeah,
2003,
two.
written and directed by star Mars Callahan, also starring Christopher Walken and Chaz uh, Palminteri, with Rod Steiger, Ricky Schroeder, who else? Ernie Reyes Jr.,
Allison
um,
Eastwood.
Allison Eastwood, Glenn Plummer, a young Anson Mount.
Yep.
Um, yeah, this movie is surprisingly star-studded. Whether actually like at the time they were huge deals, or they later became big deals. But yeah, let me hit everyone with the synopsis and we'll get rolling. And tonight, you're in for a special treat because this synopsis was written by me because I was looking for a synopsis online, and you know, this movie uh, one, it wasn't received very well at the time of its release, but also this is very much a cult movie.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and so and the synopsis that I did find online, like I felt like they were very lacking. So I'm gonna give it its due by writing up a one by me. Okay. Johnny, a pool hustler, breaks ties with his longtime backer Joe after discovering he had betrayed him when he was a young man. Now trying to go straight, Johnny tries to juggle his relationship with his girlfriend Tara and watch out for his younger brother Danny. But fate intervenes when Joe returns with a new protege and challenges Danny to a high-stakes game and beats him. Johnny is pulled back in for one final game against his former backer and mentor. Again, this movie came out in 2003.
Didn't it come out in 2002? It's the 20th anniversary of this film.
Well, I'm saying it was released. It was released early 2003.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. Everything I saw was two. Okay, I was wrong then.
Oh well,
Okay.
I mean that's I guess conflicting information because this little blurb on Google says it was released in the U.S. in 2003, but IMDb says 2002.
Oh, maybe it's conflicting information. So yeah, everything I saw was 2002. So maybe I was going off of the IMDb information or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, it's either 2002 or 2003.
because I thought it was the 20th anniversary of the film. It's like we need to
Right.
have a K Blu-ray release. When did you first con Poolhall Junkies?
I actually think I saw this in the theaters when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm having like this really strong memory of watching it with friends, particularly in the old Cinemark building in Van Nuys on
Oh wow.
yeah, Van Owen and God, what's that street? Is it Laurel Canyon?
Yeah, I think you're right. God, I haven't thought about that place in forever.
Yeah, so yeah. I actually I know that I watched it in theaters though. And I after watching it, I was like, oh my god, this is such a good movie.
It is a fucking tastic movie. So obviously I came to it more recently. You're the one that introduced this film to me. It's like
Mhm.
you have got to watch this. And I watched it probably a few months ago. Yeah, I would say 4 or 5 months ago.
Mhm.
And since then, I've probably watched this movie about 20 times. Like, I really fucking love this movie.
It's a
I
great
just,
movie. It really is.
it, it blew me away. And I would argue that, like, outside of, like, The Hustler, this is the best pool movie of all time. Um, a little bit of Mars Callahan, because I actually did a lot of research for this film because that's how much I really like
Yeah, that's how
this.
much you were enamored by this movie.
Yeah, so Mars Callahan, if you didn't, he's been acting since he was a child. He did a lot of commercials. I forget, he was the spokesperson for some product back, when he started doing commercials. He was on the Wonder Years.
Mhm.
He's done like a bunch of like little stuff. But he's been like kind of involved with like kind of all aspects of Hollywood, and he was really fascinated with everything.
Mhm.
He wrote this. So he wrote this script back in like '92. Like he had been shopping this story around for like 10 years before this movie got made,
Mhm.
and part of the reason was that Hollywood really liked his script. They liked what he had, but they had like all these other ideas. Okay, we'll have like this guy direct it. We'll have this guy starring, and it's like, well, no, 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 no. I'm gonna direct it. I wrote it. I'm gonna direct it, and I'm gonna play in it. It's like, well, no. And he's like, because he was kind of going the idea. He wanted to be like Sylvester Stallone in that sense, whereas like, and he wanted to do something that he didn't do, and he did accomplish that. He is the only guy to star, direct, and have written the film.
Mhm.
Even Stallone didn't do that.
All right, he
He did
did
not.
2 out of 3. He did 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
But
because
Stallone wasn't able to do the hat trick.
they wouldn't let him do that, and that was like kind of the one thing that Callahan wanted to do. He wanted to direct it.
Mhm.
And so that's part of the reason why it took 10 years to get this film done. And initially, the part of Danny, the younger brother, was supposed to be Mars Callahan. But
Mhm.
because it took so long to get the movie made, he ended up saying, well, I'm much older. I probably should play the star,
Mhm.
Johnny. It's like, um, and when he was shopping these, because the part of Uncle Mike, which was played by
Christopher
uh,
Walken.
Christopher Walken, he wrote that part specifically for Christopher Walken's. Like he always told, like every time he was pitching this film, it's like, oh yeah, I have Christopher Walken in mind for this part. He's gonna do it. You have him attached? Well, no, but he's gonna do it. And so somewhere like along the course of these meetings, someone who knew Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken got a hold of the script somehow, some way. He read it, called up Mars, is like, Mars, this is Christopher Walken. I like your script. It's like, and he's like, he thought he was like, wait, what? Are you? Is this really Christopher Walken? It's like, yes. It's like, well, shit. It's like, I like your script, and it's like, is it except for one thing, and he's like, I read the whole thing. It's like, there's one line here. It's like, you should change like this word to this word. That's it. It's like that's all. You read the whole script. That's the only thing change about your character. Yep. It's like, and he was like, and because Mars was like, he was saying like, part of me was like wanting to be like kind of like that smartest, like, well, fuck you then. It's like, I'm not gonna change a goddamn thing.
Right.
But the fact that like he was able to, he ended up meeting with Christopher Walken, talking about the film, and although the film didn't do well, when he read that, like when just having that meeting with Christopher Walken is like, if this is all I get out of this, you know what, this is a dream come true. Like I have accomplished kind of what I wanted.
Yeah.
He was just so excited just to get that one meeting with.
Right, yeah, and I saw the interview that you sent me, and it's like, yeah, he even like said like him talking to Christopher Walken on the phone about potentially meeting about about playing this part. It's like if this is all that I get, then that's enough. Then it's like and it was really great to hear like just like the perspective that he had, like that every single like every little win that he got was like, it's like if that's all that happens, like I'd be happy.
Same thing when he talked with Chaz Palminteri,
Mm-hmm.
who is also a big actor. Like he did A Bronx Tale, which is a great film, by the way.
Absolutely.
And it's like, and the fact that
I love the Chaz Palminteri story as well.
Yeah, it's just kind of like this like whole like pay it forward thing is like, it's like because both Chaz and Christopher Walken, they wanted to work together, and the fact he met with them on set, they weren't connected in any way. Mars Callahan was the connector. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, well, Christopher Walken wanted to do it like, okay, well, you need to get one more guy. I need to have like one more name in this film, before I'll kind of like, if you do that, I'm in, because I want to play this part. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, and he had already talked with Chaz Palminteri, and it's like, he was saying the same thing. It's like, okay, kid, I'm going to give you a chance, like, but if this ever comes back around to you, you better give some other kid the same chance that I'm giving you, that's a huge fucking deal. Mm-hmm. And he was the other big name actor that nobody talks about in this film is Rod Steiger, and he was Mars Callahan was friends with Rod Steiger, which is crazy. It's so nuts. You get all these great actors coming together, and then you have all on top of that, you have all these like younger guys, like your Michael Rosenbaum, who you wouldn't see him as like this, like he's not like a super A-lister, but like in our circles, like it's definitely in the voice acting world, he's a huge big deal. He's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And obviously, I loved him in like Smallville, and I know a lot about the guy. I've seen a lot of his stuff, and I like his work, and he's great as the younger brother. Mm-hmm. In the film. You have Ricky Schroeder, who is like looks like he's actually 32 in this film, which it still blows my fucking mind. You have Clint Eastwood's daughter in the film, in Allison Eastwood, who plays Tara. And yeah, it's just all these like great actors. All these pieces came together for Mars Callahan, just because I think that he's a good guy. I think he's a good guy. People saw his genuine nature, and on top of that, his script was fucking awesome. And when he talks about like when he works on these scripts, like he was voicing all he worked tirelessly at that. Like he was he worked out all the roles that he was kind of like doing all the stuff himself. Like, how would these conversations go? Who am I going to play? Who am I going to put in these parts? How would this character talk to this character, and so on and so forth? He did that himself, which is nuts. And yet, that's why his script was so popular, and that's why he fought so hard, because like, no, I want control of this. This is my project.
Yeah.
I wrote it.
Yeah,
I want
it's
to
his
direct it.
vision. It's it's like he put himself this
Yeah,
is basically a story about himself. So why wouldn't he want full control over it?
exactly. And I just and especially because right after this film, Mars went through something really horrible. He had a it was something with like his adrenaline system had like some sort of problem, like where his adrenaline system like was over, like it was hyperactive, and he had to he was like, man, why am I so fucking tired? And it's because his body was like fighting against him, and he ended up having to get like some sort of surgery after this film was done. He had to get like some sort of like special surgery to get that fixed. He couldn't walk for like 10 years,
Wow.
or without assistance,
Mm.
either using a cane or using a wheelchair. And it's like, well, fuck. This guy went through an insane journey.
Mm.
And it just, I think he already had a good perspective, but just like him going through that, I think when I hear his story, I'm like, this guy is like really truly. I think he's a good guy. It's like he has gone through hell. Did he get the success in the movie that maybe he wanted? No, but like I said, when just that idea of like just having this
Right. If this is
conversation,
all that I get, then it's enough.
then it's enough. And I think that he's had that perspective his whole life.
Mm.
And I
Yeah,
think
no,
that's a
that's
big,
yeah. He's a super cool dude.
yeah. And I'm sorry, like maybe I'm going a little bit long just about like the origins of the movie, but I was so just like blown away by like, what this guy had to say,
Yeah, I
and
know
it
that.
made me a bigger fan of his.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, like there was supposed to be kind of like a spiritual sequel to this, which was Poker Junkies,
Yeah,
and he did like the World Series of
research.
Poker, for like Matt Damon and Ed Norton with Rounders. And I think there's a script done, but I don't think I don't know if it's like maybe it's one of those things where it's going to take another 10 years for this thing to get made.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe it'll never get made, but who knows? And I to be honest, if it's like Pool Hall Junkies, God, I hope it gets made, because it sounds like it's be really if it's like this movie, it's gonna be awesome
Mm-hmm.
in a way. Um, but yeah, let's get into the movie itself. I think the movie itself, it gives us obviously that little snippet of the relationship between Joe and Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny is just like this young kid, really talented pool player who is being tabbed to play, in this pro league that is starting up. And he's been, who knows, hustling for a couple of years with, or Joe has been mentoring him, kind of like helping him with this game.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he essentially throws, like, figuratively and literally throws away his chance at a pro career.
Mm-hmm.
um I asked you, like, when we watched the film together, do you think that that was something that Joe would have always done? Because we have that like small conversation of like, with Joe and the young Johnny, of like, don't fuck around with this hustler that you're playing. Don't you don't know all the angles. We don't go around with maybes. Like, you're my kid. I will make you a champion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was, and then but it seemed like Johnny went back to playing after Joe turned his back.
Right.
That the reason that Joe threw away that pro invitation, or was he always going to do that?
Yeah. No, he was always going to do that.
You think he was always going to
He
do
was always
that?
going to do that because yeah, because he was his Johnny was Joe's meal ticket, you know. And if he had a chance to go legitimate, then there's no guarantee. I mean, I think because Johnny kind of sees him as a father figure. I think he would have brought him along and treated him nice. But I think it was Joe's fears. I think it was Joe's fears that once he went legit, then he wouldn't like he would cast Joe aside.
That was the other thing I was thinking too. Like, would it the other way? Like, would Johnny have cast away Joe? I don't think so. I think
No,
that
exactly.
Johnny was always going to be loyal to Joe for what Joe had. Joe brought him up from, like, the fucking dirt,
Exactly.
and yeah, I think Johnny would have brought him along. It's like, I need Joe is, he's with me. Like, I can't do this without
Right.
Joe.
Yeah, but
He's with.
because Joe is such a control freak that he can't have anything that might take Johnny away from him.
Yeah. Next comes up the funniest fucking scene in the film is the opening. The other this the opening, like, we get to 15 years later. Johnny as an adult, and one of the funniest fucking scenes in film history I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Uh, him playing at the black pool hall
Uh-huh.
with Chico. Talk about that scene, Andy. What?
You coward. Anyways, yeah, but there's this great.
I want you, because you're more familiar with this movie than I am. I want you to talk about this scene,
Right. There,
because
yeah. Yeah. Johnny's playing. He's not playing this guy Chico, but he's playing one of like an associate of Chico's. Um, and they're going through like the finer points of I guess you can say black camaraderie.
it's like,
And so he was like saying, he's
so
like,
you're
so I
saying, so
yeah,
you're
so you're
saying,
saying that I can call you nigger? It's like no, nigga. It's like, yeah, that's what I said, nigger. It's like no, and then Chico's like correcting him. It's like no, nigga.
Nigga, nigga.
Nigga.
Like,
Right, and it's just like this whole like kind of it's like I forget what it's called in comedy, but like
the repartee between him and Chico is one of the greatest. Like, it's the way that this was written by Mars. This conversation is so, like, it's so quick, it's so witty, and it's fucking amazing.
right, yeah, because he was like saying, oh yeah, it's like yeah, like saying he's like you my nigga, it's like saying you my boy. He's like yeah, he's like you're
Like,
down.
my nigga
It's
Charles.
like yeah, see that
Like,
guy you play? That's my nigga Charles. It's like my nigger Charles. It's like no.
no.
So you can't call him that. It's like why not? It's like first of all you don't know him like that.
Well, first of all, you don't say it right,
Right.
and number
It's it.
it's like,
you don't know him like that. Yeah, that was a great. Yeah, I love that scene.
that scene is so. I mean, I because I had my wife watch this with me too, and we just, every time I watch this scene, I fucking die. It's because it's so ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny, and like, we both just we couldn't breathe how much we were laughing. It's like, it's so funny. And then we get to like where the payoff of like the betrayal of Joe, because it's like, okay, well, so we get so one thing I noticed too rewatch, because I rewatched this movie before we started the live stream. There's a scene in the bathroom with Joe and Johnny, and it's like, I don't know how you do it. Like, it there's one thing to just take a man's money, that's easy, but you make them like,
Yeah, you take
not
the
only
man's
do they
money and you make him like it.
like it exactly, but there's almost like when you the bathroom scene, like where you have Johnny's in the mirror, he almost looks ashamed of himself.
Hmm.
Did you notice that?
That's true. Yeah,
The whole,
yeah.
whole time that he's in that mirror, he looks
Right,
ashamed of.
because Joe is like laughing and just like kind of like, oh, that's my boy kind of thing. Not my nigga, but that's my boy.
Yeah,
But
he
but yeah, but he's
himself.
just like, yeah, he's like very pleased at like what Johnny is doing. But Johnny's like, you know, I think he's starting to feel like, kind of thin. Where he's like, I could be doing something more than this.
Yeah, and it's like, but like, man, I didn't notice it until today
Hmm.
how ashamed he looks in that mirror scene. It's like, fuck. He's looking at he's because he's not looking at anybody but himself,
Hmm.
and he hates himself.
Right.
Um, but then he finds out that like Joe, the betrayal that Joe did, like because he met with the Toupee J, the guy that invited him to the pro tournament,
Yeah, all those years
and
ago.
all those years ago,
Right.
and
Yeah, and Johnny's feeling a little embittered by that, because he's like, because he's complimenting him, saying like, oh, he's like, he's the greatest stick man I've ever seen. He could have really been big in the pro circuit, and
yeah,
and Johnny's just like feeling kind of resentful because he felt, because I think because of the betrayal, like unknowingly, he felt like, I think he felt like he was like just stringing him along and like filling his head with all these ideas, but
I
when it
think
was
that
then,
yeah, and that's where everything came together. It's like,
yeah,
fuck this guy.
and then when it comes out that like it's like, oh, like, yeah, I even I even talked to that old backer of yours, that you had
Oh,
back in the day. He's like,
yep.
what was his name again? It's like Joe. So yeah, Joe. Yeah, I said like something about like how your parents wanted you to finish school, and that's when he's like just flips the switch, and gets goes back into the pool hall, and
Move the bet to 20,000.
yeah,
It's like,
and then
shit. Did I stutter? It's like, it was like an evening at the Apollo up in this motherfucker. Now it's as quiet as a another one of like the running gags of this fucking film. It's like, it's great.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And so yeah,
and
like he
but
comes in there kind of like amped up, but then like giving the impression that he's following Joe's instructions to up the bet so they could take all their money. But like he like really steps it up because Joe tells him to just bump it up to like 8,000, but he comes in and you know uh, bet ups the bet to 20,000 a game, and then like he really amps it up, like just throwing insults, to the point where he riles Chico enough to for him to start playing.
yeah, it's like they wouldn't bet they Joe, let's get the fuck out of here. They wouldn't bet $5 if they were black. But that's the thing is like, but before that, like there's some sort of communication going on between him and Chico because they
Right,
are actually friends.
right.
And I told you that like something you didn't realize is that after everything that takes place after this like game that him and Chico play, notice that he puts on the same jacket that
That's right.
every
I
other
did. I
person.
did. When I watched it again before today, um, I did notice the jacket, and all of the guy, or at least all of Chico's guys, had like the black leather, coat on. And then when Johnny flips the switch on Joe and loses the game, he puts on a black leather coat, just like the Chico's guys.
Yeah. So it's like those guys were definitely friends.
Hmm. Right. I mean, if it wasn't also clear, it's like, Chico, wises up Joe, and it's like, I was like, no, you weren't paying attention, motherfucker. It's like, because
You didn't,
he was telling me things without telling me. It's like, because we
yeah.
niggas.
You think that I would let a white boy come in here and talk that much shit if he wasn't trying to tell me something?
It's like, you missed the signs, Joe.
Yeah. What's this about you not having you not having my money?
Yeah.
They beat the shit out of him. It's
Yeah.
great. And that's where the movie kind of gets started. And then we kind of see Johnny trying to go straight. That doesn't work. Um, what is the scene like? There's that like small scene before he quits a construction job about the foreman wanting him to like he heard that he's a hustler and wants him to like use him as like a guy that like kind of a essentially kind of a like a really crooked thing that he's gonna have Johnny do. What
Yeah.
First of all, why do you think Johnny turned that down? And two, how did he find out about that?
Well, it was stated in that in the conversation that he had, because it's like, that guy, I forget what his name is, but like, he it wasn't the foreman that hired him, but it was, this the friend of Johnny's. And then, the foreman's like, oh yeah, that guy. It's like good man, lousy gambler. So which means
Yeah.
that he knows that that guy has a gambling problem. Meaning, like, the only reason why Johnny got this job is because he comes from, like, kind of like, you know uh you know less than reputable background. And so, and especially if gambling is involved. And so he then concludes that he could use him to, off what is it, kind of skim off the top, as it were, in terms of, like, selling off, like, materials on the side to make some extra money.
Yeah. Oh, and she's like, but he obviously like Johnny doesn't want to do that. That's
Hmm.
not his game. He doesn't want to be a crook. He
Right.
doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be a hustler either. Like I don't think that. I think that shit. He does want to be something better, and that's probably why he's like, well, fuck this, I'm out of here. Uh, and then like he does get that he gets a call from like Nick, played by Rod Steiger, about like taking in a game, and here comes another mentor figure in Johnny's life, who he's a former pool guy, obviously. He's uh, and he is trying to get him back into the game, trying to get him back into like you know because he does believe in Johnny. It's like you can be the best. These other guys that I see, like your brother and all that stuff, is like they're just playing pretend. You're the real deal. And so I think Nick, in his own way, he's not manipulating Johnny, but he's kind of putting him in a position to get back on the horse, play pool. You belong here.
Yeah, he's the actual good father figure. He's like the one that's looking out for him and also encouraging him. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like it's something that I've said for a while. I've been saying for a while, but particularly about parents. Like, parents can push their kids, but they just shouldn't shove them.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, yeah, you can encourage your kid all you want, but you shouldn't shove them into things, especially if the kid is saying that that they don't want to. As a parent, it's your job to encourage your child. And if you know sometimes I think parents should listen to their kids, and even in, like, particularly, like, in extracurriculars. If a kid is really hating playing the violin, then a parent shouldn't just, like, duct tape the bow to the kid's hand. It's like, you play until, like, until your fingers bleed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. So in the good way, Nick is that that parental figure when it's like, I know what's inside of you, and you do have it within you. So stop being a pussy and beat this guy.
Um, what do you think about like Johnny's brother and like his friends? Like, what do you think that group?
I think they're kind of yeah. I think they're kind of the standard Greek chorus. They're kind of just like they're witnessing everything, but also kind of reacting. Um, and Johnny's brother, Danny. He's he I think he does have uh, a lot of love for his brother, but and I think and just like all younger brothers want to emulate their older brother, that's what Danny's trying to do as well. Um, even though he has his own ambitions, in the movie, he's a musician, and he has aspirations of becoming a recording artist. But on the side, he thinks that he also has what it takes to be, a world class pool player like his brother. But you know, um, just like you said, just like that initial speech by Nick, talking about all these guys that come into the pool room are they're pretenders, but you're the real thing. And I think Danny falls into that pretender category.
So so you think Danny is just a he? Well, I think a lot. So all those guys, they Johnny is their hero.
Yeah.
Hang and Max and Danny and they all look up to Johnny. Like
Mm.
he's like their older he's like the older brother for all of them.
Right.
They probably all hang out together.
Yeah.
Although Johnny has been missing probably the last few months with like him working construction, trying to stay away from the pool hall.
Mm.
And with him coming back, it's like it's kind of like the reason that they play pool, the reason why they're even in the pool hall is because of Johnny, and they want to have a Tang especially really wants to do that because obviously he goes off and tries to go on the road to bankroll himself on the pool circuit, which I think would be a
Was it the
fucking
pool
disaster.
circuit or?
Well, he wants to like he wants to hustle
Well,
pool like.
is it? Or I thought. Well, I just thought he just wanted to go and like travel the country.
No. He wanted to be like what Johnny was. He wanted to go and
Oh, so
hustle
he just
pool.
wanted to he wanted to travel, but then like to bring in like some money on the side, he wanted to hustle pool.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was using the 40 grand that his family had saved for his college to bankroll himself on the road to play pool.
I
That's
see. Okay. Yeah. I
that's
just okay. Yeah.
that's what him.
That for some reason that never clicked with me. Like I just thought I thought that he just wanted to just hit the road and you know like kind of screw
No.
off. Okay, but yeah,
He
but that does make more sense.
and so that's where Johnny's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like none of you guys try to talk. Are you crazy? Um. Uh. And then obviously, so we have the whole like kind of introduction to Johnny's brother, his friends. We Johnny's back in the game. Nick has him go up against that pro. Johnny kicks his ass. Takes him to the ATM 3 times. Unfortunately, he misses his girlfriend's birthday dinner that she had set up for them. Although I still have no idea why she slept with him that night because if that had
I
been my
know that's
way,
not very. Yeah, if a little ding against Mars there in terms of writing, it's like that's not realistic.
It's like, trust me, my wife ain't sleeping with me if I forget
Yeah.
her birthday.
Yeah,
Okay.
no woman is sleeping with their man if they forgot their birthday.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a setup to like splash water on them in the morning, which happens, you know, the scene immediately afterwards.
But he knew he had fucked up because he's like, oh shit. He wrote it's like the line his inner dialogue was that it's like, Tara didn't really like me much when I played pool, or like didn't like that I played pool very much, but I didn't like myself when I didn't play. It's kind of and
Yeah.
it's kind of like uh that Rounders scene, like with Matt Damon's character. It's kind of the
Mhm.
same thing where kind of had that same feel to it,
Yeah.
and obviously he didn't forget her birthday because in the morning he
Right.
had
And
that
oh,
whole
exactly.
balloon
And
arrangement.
if you watch it again, like the way he's like stealthily trying to come into the apartment, I think it's actually because he's trying to keep all the balloons on that side of the door.
He did it before. Yeah, you're right. He did that before.
Mm-hmm.
He did that night.
Mm-hmm.
God, you're right. That was not like in the morning.
Yeah.
He had already set it up. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
because he knew that he was in trouble,
Right.
but he didn't forget her birthday at all. Oh
Exactly.
man, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. Exactly. Especially like the way he closed the door and like came in like really slyly and like slowly like it was not like it's not as though he could have opened the door wide and then like slowly like closed it again, but like he opened it a crack and slid himself in, and then like slowly like closed the door quietly.
Yeah, you're right. God, like yeah, so that makes so much sense because I was thinking like, oh, maybe he did it like he realized like, oh shit, it was right, it's her birthday, and like he like had some like late night call. It's like no, I think you're right. I think that makes much more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the after that, trying to think of what happens after that. God, I'm drawing a blank.
Maybe we should
No, no,
hustle to
well,
the like the inciting incident, which is Joe, coming back and he doesn't come back first. He come like the new protege makes his presence known at the pool hall, and
yeah,
challenges one of Danny's friends, Chris, to a game of 8 ball,
right.
and immediately proceeds to hustle him because he's offering what is it, 4 balls off the table.
Which is the oldest hustle in the book according to Danny,
Right.
and that's where like he ends up because of that misses Danny's concert,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which I don't. So I know that Michael Rosenbaum does sing and like do like he does some band stuff
Mm-hmm.
now. I know he does that now. I don't know if he did that back then because I don't know if that's actually him doing the singing
Right.
in this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, like the people that he was hoping for to be there, his brother, his friend.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that showed up was like Max.
Mm-hmm. Which is
Oh,
really
and
funny. Why didn't Tang show up?
Tang was on the road already.
Was he? I thought he. Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Tang was on the road already, so like he wasn't gonna be there
Right, right, right.
because they had that party at Chris's
That's
house.
right, 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 right. And it was before the performance. You're
Yeah,
right.
and Chris is totally gay.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. It's the running joke, but yeah, uh, Anson Mount's character Chris is gay.
He's so gay. Um, and
But
well, the other thing that happens too just to backtrack a little bit, was Johnny does have his hand broken, and it is that scene with him and Joe is supposed to be like kind of an homage to The Hustler
Right.
when Eddie gets his hands broken by the that like
By the
gang,
ruffians, yeah.
by the ruffians, yeah, which was definitely Burt Gordon's doing,
Yeah.
as we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. This one, yeah, this cuts out the middleman.
Yeah, but anyways, so Chris loses like $2,000, and like it's like when Danny comes back, it's like, let me guess, you lost. How much did you lose? And then
And
Joe's
that,
like,
yeah, that's when
"Two."
Joe makes his, Palpatine-esque appearance.
And it's like, well, it's like, well, since your brother, since I broke his hand, he can't be. It's like maybe you want to step up. It's like you did that to Johnny, which because he lied to them. It's like saying like
Right.
he
Yeah.
closed his hand into because he was drunk. He closed his hand in the car door. He never gives the same answer twice, by the way. And so it's like, all right, well, that's where Danny thinks, as kind of like the top dog of the group. It's like, well, I'm gonna have to take charge, and I'm gonna have to like bail my friend out. So he he goes and pawns his car. He pawns Chris's car to be able to play Brad and Joe, and he plays them on the. Here's the other thing about like this movie. Everything is a hustle in some fashion or another. We see like the little game that Chris plays with the two kind of like seemingly Jersey guys with like, I'm gonna drink my 2 beers faster. You can drink your 2 shots, and he kind of sets up this whole scenario. Danny, however, like in this scene, he's like, well, I'm gonna play him on table 4. It's like nobody knows how that table rolls better than me. It's like, yeah, that table does roll really fucked up. Yeah, I would know because I'm the one that put the matchbox under the fucking leg of the table. It's like, motherfucker, give me back my $100, you dick, because he has hustled those
Right.
guys.
He's hustled his friends on that table.
It's like, that's fucking great. And that's what this whole movie is about. Everything's a hustle. So he's beating Brad, and he's like kind of he is talking so much shit, but at the same time, I feel Brad is smart enough to know it's like I think is luring Danny into that false
Right.
sense of
Yeah.
security. It's once again, it's another hustle on top of the hustle, and Danny ends up losing. He doesn't have that type of money to like he loses the $5,000, gets the shit kicked out of him, and then proceeds to go and try to get Chris's keys back from the pawn shop. And when he can't do that, he steals a whole bunch of stuff, hoping that he can sell it somewhere else to make the money back to do everything else. And
yeah.
gets arrested.
After he gets the shit kicked out of him, in a state of desperation, he tries to go and knock over the local pawn guy, but he ends up being arrested and thrown in jail, and that's when Johnny has to step up and you know Johnny has to step up and rescue his brother.
Now Johnny at this point too, like obviously he had everything happen to him. He now we meet Mike, Uncle Mike, which is Christopher Walken's character at the
who was Tara's uncle.
Who's Tara's uncle at her at her work party. Ends up having has a connection with him, realizes that like he plays pool. There's a pool table upstairs, and he ends up, doing what he does best. He plays pool, helps Mike to win his money back and more.
Yeah,
And Mike,
and also win a uh, a job position for his girlfriend, who right now at the law firm that she works at is just a paralegal, but after she passes the bar, what is it? Johnny secured a position for her for like at least a year.
yeah. The other thing about also, this is also another homage to The Hustler. That whole thing of like where Mike makes that this like crazy shot, which
Mhm.
I think they actually made that shot. That was
Yeah,
not like it was not camera tricks.
right.
And the other thing, going back to like the background of the movie, Mars Callahan played pool all the time. He
Hmm.
played in pool halls. He knew how to play pool.
Hmm.
Uh, Christopher Walken actually knows how to play pool. In fact, the reason why the script spoke to him is because his brother, he had to bail his brother out of pool halls all the fucking time. So he was there. He knew they knew how to play pool. So they all
Right.
those shots, outside of I think like 3 or 4 shots in the movie, they're making those shots themselves. It's
Right.
not some another
Yeah,
like
it's
pool.
not fancy editing or whatever. And,
No, it's not. And that's what's crazy
mm,
about the whole thing. Um, so that shot that Christopher Walken makes, he makes that shot.
mm,
I don't know how many takes it took, but he
right.
made the shot. Um, and then Johnny is like that guy's like, oh, that's fucking luck. It's like this is luck. And it's like you wouldn't make that shot in another million years. The opening scene of The Hustler, right there.
Yeah.
About like Eddie and like his partner and his backer did the same thing, and it's like Johnny's like, "Oh, I'll make it," and then it's like I'll even do it one hand. It's like, "Oh, what did I stutter?" It's like it was as loud as a Elks Lodge meeting in this motherfucker. Now it's as quiet as a church. It's to kind of clean up that whole thing again.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's how he secures the job for that's how he meets Mike. That's how he secures the job for Tara. Now going back to this, um, he ends up challenging. Now we're in that kind of final
Yeah.
challenge with Joe, and he takes his hand out of his broken hand and wrist at the freaking cast, and it looks gross. The
Yeah.
whole
All
thing looks,
purpley and bruised still.
yeah, and it's like, and he's whole. This kind of also reminds me of Eddie Felson after he got out of his cast. He's testing himself. He's not quite the same player,
Mm,
and so he's kind of having to build himself back up.
mm,
Although it's done in a much faster fashion in this film,
right.
with Johnny, and it's like they're trying to pile some money together to face Brad and Joe, and it's like, what am I working with here? Like, it's like, oh great, I have like one barrel against these guys, and then it turns out that uh, Chris, he's the rich kid, like he's the one that he has like all this money, and it's like you're covered. It's like, oh shit, all right, what kind of ATM do you have? And Johnny is obviously like he's still warming up. He's losing to Brad. It's not looking good. And it's like he loses 10 grand. He loses another 10 grand. It's like, oh, I'll be right back. And Chris goes back again to get more money. And it turns out, where is he getting that money? Tang. Tang has been like, he came back from being on the road. He came back trying to help out Johnny and his friend in secret. And it's like, you're having me piss away this guy's future for what? It's like he doesn't have like special bank accounts or a trust fund. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? And he's like, I'm not taking any more of Tang's money. He's like, oh, and he kind of like fakes something like where I think he's like, you wouldn't be, well, as Joe calls it, it's like, you wouldn't be flashing me no nigger roll there, would you, Johnny? And it's like, because I don't look like no $20,000. And that's where Mike comes back into the picture. And it's like, well, since we're gonna play for 20, why don't we play for 50? It's like it's like, and he flashes his whole briefcase full of just fucking cash.
Yeah.
And this is where we're getting to the final stretch of the film. And I think do you think that like Mike being there, one, do you think that like Johnny was expecting Mike to show up at some point? Or, and two, do you think that by Mike being there, he felt more confident in himself and his abilities?
It's hard to say because, like you said, like this entire movie is one big hustle. So who like this could have been all like planned, except for like this. I think the Tang stuff. Um, I think they were hurting for money, and I think you know what? No, the Mike thing was different. I think Tara went and found him and told him about the situation, and I think because of the bond that they created earlier, especially because he did that thing for Tara, his niece. He's like, oh yeah, for sure, I'm gonna come help him. And so I think no, I think Mike being there was spontaneous and not part of some grand plan. Whether or not like that gave him more confidence, I'm gonna say no, not in the way that you think. I think it took the pressure off of him in terms of the money. That's about it.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because when we go back to that scene, like back like when he's playing at the work party,
Mm-hmm.
because he's like he could have played for anything at that table,
Yeah.
and the thing that he played for was Tara.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't play for himself. He didn't ask for like a bunch of money or a
Yeah.
car or whatever. He played for Tara, and I think when Mike saw that, he was extremely impressed. That's why he was the one that backed him up. Was like, well, okay, well, I know this guy can make it, but I'm as collateral,
Yeah.
I'm
That's
gonna
why he
put up
offered up
my.
his car. Yeah.
That's why, and I think that's also why Mike came back for this situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think you're right. I don't think that he was expecting Mike to come, but when he did come, it did take that like, oh fuck, thank God. It's like at least it's like perfect timing. Like at least now I have some money. I have a chance to like because I'm getting there. Kind of like what Nick was saying is like stay with this kid. He's not a stayer. When
Mm-hmm.
he breaks, and he will break, you're gonna be on top of him. And it's just like it just bought him more time to break Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think Mike knows that too, because like once like the money pressure is starting to get to Joe, and it's like, oh, you put that down at 80,000. It's like like it was nothing. But you know what? I think it is something because for
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm a millionaire. What does it matter to me? I lose 80, I'll make another 80. It doesn't matter to me. But you know
Mm-hmm.
what? It matters to you. And you think that my boy here is gonna choke, but you know what? I think he's gonna choke.
Yeah.
And
He
it's like
being Brad.
he being Brad, and it's like, oh man. And that's where it's like, this is where like you start to you see Joe sweating.
Mm-hmm.
Like he knows like I'm in big shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But why don't we get to
Yeah.
that the
But oh yeah,
the
it's
the
funny
final.
because what is it? Because the whole theme is like, oh, it's like it was what was it? The theme of like the kind of the prompt for like the hustle where it's like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, did I stutter? It's like, and then Joe uses that too, but but that Joe is using that from a place of weakness as opposed to a place of strength, as like initially, like we see like in the first scene with like, when Johnny's playing Chico, or when Mike is playing at like the boss's house. Um,
Did
we lose him? Is he coming back? Stand by. Let's see if we can get him back.
Andy?
Yeah. You were just in the did I stutter?
Yeah, it's like, well, because Joe is like, did I stutter? It's like, yeah, you did,
Yeah,
Joe.
you did. Right, and that's when he won like the 80 grand kind of thing. But yeah, you realize, because we saw examples of it, used from a position of strength, and then we see it from a position of weakness, in Joe. So we know that he's desperate.
Yeah, and I think we that's where we get to the point of we get the bathroom scene,
Yeah,
the lion.
the greatest locker room halftime speech in cinema history.
Yeah, and I think that the pressure is getting to Johnny a little bit. Like I think he's never played for this much money in one game, and I think that he's like, fuck, this is getting really tense. And he also doesn't. I don't think. I think part of it is obviously he's thinking about his brother. He wants to. He's thinking about his friends, but I don't think he wants. I think more he doesn't want to disappoint Mike. It's like Mike has put this much of an investment in him, and he doesn't want to disappoint him.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike starts talking about, like, you watch those nature documentaries, about, did you see the one about lions? And he starts talking about lions, and it's like how going into that speech, and I'm just like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
It just,
absolutely. It's such a contrast to the locker room halftime speech that Joe gives at the beginning of the movie, because again it's in the bathroom, and but Joe is talking at uh, Johnny, and like talking to him through the mirror, so not really looking at him.
no.
And the speech is more about, oh, you got to do this for me. I'm tired of being here. Like just step up and like end this right now, as opposed to him, where he's building up his confidence and telling him, through the analogy of the lions, how the lion is so big, and it's like, and like the little lion cubs come and mess with him, he doesn't do anything, and the lion female comes and messes with him, doesn't do anything, and that prompts the other animals to see. And so that they think they can get away with the same thing. But when that happens, the lion gets up and like rips the shit out of all of the jackals and hyenas, and it's like, and the sticking the point of that speech was like, oh, the lion has to sometimes show the jackals who he is, you know and so he's like saying like, and he's like, so you go out there and show them who you really are, and not just like beat them, but like kill them.
Yeah, and I think it also builds off of, like, Nick, like, waterfront speech earlier in the film too,
Oh yeah, the
about,
contender
like,
speech. Yeah.
yeah, which is so funny because it's crazy to think that Rod Steiger had, Marlon Brando it was his younger brother, and on the waterfront, kind of giving, it's kind of, he was listening to, Brando give kind of like a similar thing, but like, in this case, Nick was the one that was telling him, it's like, you're not, it's like, you have the ability to be the best. Stop being a fucking bum. Stop playing these fucking losers. You can do this. And this just, I think that was in Johnny's mind. And then Mike coming in is like telling him, it's like, you can do this. You're gonna tear shit up. You're the lion. These guys have nothing on you.
Mm-hmm.
Stop letting these people like nibble at your domain. Fuck these people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this done. Kick their ass. It's like Mike is showing that he believes in him.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes from like where this look of fear and shame and whatever is on Johnny's face, and after like Mike leaves the room, you see like he gets fired up, like his facial expression changes, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And that's where like the movie changes, and it's like he starts kicking Brad's ass as Mike wanted. And we get into our final hustle. It's like, because it starts to get to the point where there's a shot that's made. It's like, God, it's getting close to the end. I think it's like the final game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh shit, there's and it's like, I messed it up. And it's like Nick is like, no, don't worry. And now I don't understand what this is. It's a 2-rail safety. It's like, so I guess that's something good for Johnny. I don't know what that is. And then it's like the shot that was left for Brad is not very good. And so it's like, and he ends up making it. It's like, Joe's like, yeah, take that, you motherless motherfuckers. It's like, and he's all, but then the ball keeps going. It's like, and Brad is like, no, stop. It's like, oh shit. And then it's like, it's
It
like
puts him in a really
impossible.
bad position. Yeah.
And that's where it's like, this is where Johnny, starts playing his tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, he couldn't know that this would work. He is hoping it works,
Mm-hmm.
and he starts, jaw in his mouth, like, "Come on, man, what are you, an idiot? Like, anybody can make this fucking shot. It's like, it can't be done. Shut up, dude." And it's like, man, like, if I wish I would, it's like, man, I wish I was taking that. I mean,
you have to
pay
pay me
you
to take that shot. Yeah.
Oh, you think you're so good? Why don't you do it? It's like, I mean, I'd pay you to take that shot. It's like, well, how much is, and then that's where like Joe, his ear is like, well, how much is it worth to you, Johnny boy? And it's like, I don't know, a couple $100. Like, we're playing for $100,000, like, and you're gonna offer me a couple $100. Like, how about 5,000? It's it's like, and that's where once again, Joe doesn't read the signs like he did with, like, he missed the signs with him and Chico. And this is where where Johnny and Mike are in sync. Mike is reading the signs that he understands what Johnny's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, Joe, it's like, here's your gas money.
What's it? Yeah, and then like,
it's like, and he throws $5,000 at him. It's like, here you go, Joe. You're gonna, here's your gas money. You're gonna need it. And to be honest, he almost makes that shot. By the way, it came really close.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, darn. And it's like, and everyone's all, Joe.
Everyone's
and
like, yeah. Joe's like ecstatic. Brad's like with the, this sly smiles, like, you idiot.
Yeah, it's like,
and he's about to line up the shot, and then Johnny stops him. It's like, what are you doing?
Taking my shot.
Like, taking my shot. Like, no.
I paid $5,000 to play your shot. Now it's my shot. And it's like, and the musical thing is like, and you look at the face of Joe's face, like, oh, fuck. You can't.
You can't do that.
Can't do that. It's like, I just did. He makes the shot easily, he wins the game,
Mhm.
and it's like he throws back like the money. He's like, "Here's what my brother owes you, dick." And it's like, and then Chico breaks in with his crew, and it's
Mhm.
like, everyone get the fuck out. It's like it's gonna get wild up in this motherfucker. It's like, do you think that Joe survives the night? Because I don't.
Oh no, because
I think
he robbed Chico.
he's dead.
He's dead.
He is dead.
Yeah, Joe's dead.
Yeah, yeah, Joe's dead. Because Joe and Chico are not good guys. Like they are thugs.
Mhm.
Chico, obviously, Chico and Johnny have a relationship, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean Chico's a good guy. I don't think
Right.
he is. I think
No,
he's
of course
he
not.
is definitely
Dude, he brought out a fucking shotgun.
not. Yeah, Joe's dead.
Joe's dead.
He's swimming with the fishes.
Yeah.
Um, and that this is this whole game was Mike and Nick helping Johnny to exorcise the demons, to
Yeah, or
exorcise
exercise
Joe
Joe. Yeah.
away from Johnny, and that gives him the confidence, like, I can play on the pro tour now. Like, I don't need to hustle. I don't need to do all this other stuff. I
Right.
can go out and be the best at pool. I don't
Right.
have to do all this other, like,
Yeah. And
dumb
that
BS.
yeah, I mean, and that last shot being him, on the pro tour.
Yeah. And what a great end to the film. It's like, this is it a perfect film? It's damn close if it's not. It really, this is a tight script. It's fantastic.
Mhm.
The how it's filmed is nearly perfect. It is really hard to film a movie about pool and poker, to be honest. It's really difficult. And I think this is pulled off to near perfection. Um, and especially knowing that this film was shot in like 20 days in Salt Lake City, they this is this is just fantastic. But
Excuse me.
yeah, I we took a little bit longer tonight to talk about this film, but I felt like it deserved it just because, one, it's not a film that a lot of people talk about. It didn't do well, um, but it's such a to me it's a special film that it really spoke to me in a lot of ways. It has the comedy, it has the sports element, it has the father figure element, it has all these different things, and like the more you watch it, the more you take away from it. There's always like
Right.
every time I watch it, I found little nuggets about it that just really, like, wow, this is a powerful film.
Yeah, and that's why I was trying to get it in for Father Figures Month. Um,
It definitely would have worked in that as well.
right, but I think we picked enough like strong movies, that dealt with like fathers and father figures. But I'm
Yeah.
glad we were able to get it in for this, uh, and finally get to because I love this movie. I loved it the first time I saw it. I loved every subsequent viewing of this movie, and just like Robert said, you know, I always notice other like new details every time I watch it, and I'm able to take out something something else that I didn't quite notice before, or something that just that's weighing on my mind at the time, and it's completely relevant. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but also it's also one with one of the best. like stinger like end credit or mid credit scenes. Uh,
Maybe the
maybe the first, um, and that's a payoff to a setup earlier in the movie where Danny and his friends are at this diner, and Max, has all like these kind of like trivia, but it's like not verified or it's like really obscure. Like talking about how there's like 30 miles of unpenetrated vagina in the United States, or
17,000 miles.
yeah, 13,000 miles, and then of course the what's germane to the mid credit scene uh, is the the supposed fact that fake breasts, fake women with implants float better than women without implants, and there's one waitress at the restaurant that they're eating at who has really large breasts, and so
She's this body karate.
yeah, body karate, as Max described it. And so at the end of the movie, they're probably in like some back storage room or whatever, and the waitress Scarlett, gives the boys a view and a feel, and they're
For
to and
money.
they're and for money, but then they're to determine, if Scarlett's breasts are real or if they're fake, and so they give offer up the money and they each take a turn. Of course, Max, you know, pays double
Two hands.
to get to get a double feel, and and fun, and of course because Chris is gay, Chris pays up and he gets like a really like kind of like little poke, you know, and so and then like they discuss amongst each other. It's like no way, there's like it's like no way, there's no scar. That can't be it can't be fake.
On this one.
Yeah, and so yeah, and so like they try, and then they start making side bets with each other. It's like okay, he's like, and then like two of them go with natural, and two of them go with fake, and then Scarlet reveals that they're real, and then it's like and of course upheaval commences, but the funniest the zinger is earlier on, talking about how women with fake breasts float better. Max turns to Scarlett and says, "Never go swimming."
My wife laughed her ass off at that line. It's like, what the fuck? Oh my god, it's like great
Yeah, it's so
payoff.
funny because like for some reason, for every like subsequent viewing, I never caught that last bit up until we watched it together and you pointed that out. I was like, and I was dying. I was like, "Oh my god, that is so perfect."
So funny. But man, this movie is great. Why don't we give our ratings? Which I think it's pretty obvious at this point where we're going.
Absolutely. I mean, if my own I mean, not handwritten, but my own written synopsis for this movie did not tell you how I was going to land on this, then you're a fool. And I'm giving this a 5.
Yeah, I got to go with a 5 on this one as well. It is this the second best pool film, but not by very much. I close because I mean, The Hustler is a great classic, and obviously this pays a lot of homage to The Hustler in a lot of ways. Um, this is just this is definitely more fun than The Hustler. The Hustler is a really dark, fucked up film.
Yeah.
This is more fun. I think
Yeah,
this
it's
is why
definitely more lighthearted. Yeah.
I will definitely revisit Poolhall Junkies way more than I revisit The Hustler.
Mm.
Um, just because like I have fun every time I watch it. Like it's a great film,
Mm.
but it is brilliantly written. The soundtrack is dope. Like it's really they picked the right music. I think every character is perfectly cast. Their dialogue is fun. The relationships feel real. Like it doesn't feel like it's like, oh yeah, that there's no way that those people would be friends.
Mm-hmm.
They are like I feel like all of their relationships feel real.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've known each other for years and years and years, and they grew up together. That's what
Mm-hmm.
it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's 5 stars. Go check it out. Watch it a billion times. It's on Tubi right now. Like you can go and watch it for free. And you can buy there is no Blu-ray, but there is a DVD release that you can buy on Amazon. I think it's like $10, $12. Not very expensive. Get it that way. And
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some extras on the DVD. I don't know what they are, but I know there are some extras. So,
Of course.
uh,
Absolutely. Yep, that's our review for Poolhall Junkies. Both Robert and I give this a 5. Highly recommended. You're actually hurting yourself by not watching this movie.
bingo. Yeah, I think that's say that.
All right, folks. That brings us to the end of our stream tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Rob always has a good time.
Had a great time, dude.
Awesome. Don't forget to check out the library of other content that we have. Circle of Jerks main podcast, episodes of Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. With all that said, we thank you for joining us tonight. Come back next week and we'll do it all over again. Have a good night.